Hello, friends, and welcome. So, we like to weigh in on what we're enjoying and share it with you. And today, on this episode, I'm joined by my pal Tony and I as we cover our gut reactions to this new winter crop, this new winter season of Japanese animated television. So, let's begin. This is just the main part, so we can just start. And we're starting with Other Side Picnic.
Urusakai Picnic.
Yes,
Also known as
Other Side Picnic is the English title, or Urusakai, which I assume means other side.
Otherworld, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, Otherworld might be.
Something like
The Upside Down.
Yes, that is.
Upside Down Picnic. That's actually pretty cute.
I mean, it is pretty much the upside down.
Picnic.
I haven't seen a picnic.
Yeah. Picnic. The picnic is not, that shoe is not dropped. The picnic shoe.
Yeah, I haven't seen a picnic yet.
Yeah. So we can just run down. Other Side Picnic. It's about this girl who, and her name's Sorao. But she, it is revealed, as you're watching it, that goes to this other world and is kind of semi-suicidal and just laying in a puddle, wanting to die. Very angsty teenage sort of thing going on. And then this girl, human, spots her, and she literally was like, human? Is that a human? And her name is Toriko.
And she was only surprised because we didn't yet know that we were in the other side. She was just
she's just laying in
a grassy field, puddle area.
And it's bigger. It's a little bigger than a puddle, I suppose, but it's not very.
It's
not very
puddle,
big.
But
yeah. Toriko, this girl, she's surprised to see a human, so you're already okay, well, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
And Toriko, I wrote this down and I had to look it up because I didn't even know. She thought she looked like Ophelia. And I was like, who's that? And so I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, Hamlet. And Ophelia, I read all about Ophelia and Hamlet, and she eventually goes mad, as they say.
Oh, you did research on this.
And on this one I did, because I had a few things where I was like, I don't know what that is. So Ophelia goes mad and drowns, and so that, inexplicably falls off a tree and drowns.
She also marries her husband's brother? But I don't know that that's germane.
Yeah, if that's relevant. I wondered because our main character is depressed and doesn't want to live anymore. Isn't taking it upon herself to kill herself.
Sounds a little bit more like Hamlet, right?
Yeah, right. So that's kind of interesting, but yeah. So that's basically the premise. I mean, they don't really set it up much, and then they end up killing one of these monsters that shows up.
Semi-accidentally.
Yeah, throwing some salt rocks at
Or
him.
What's her name, the blonde one?
The Toriko.
Toriko.
Yeah.
So Toriko said she had heard something, I guess, and had the salt rocks prepared and ready to throw, and it worked. But yeah, foreshadowing for later in the episode.
Yes.
When it doesn't work.
Yeah, and not to give too much away, but that's the basic premise. And I had already gone into this knowing that it had sort of a Yuri aesthetic.
Yeah, so it's on my anime list, which is what I use, and I assume ANN, which you use. It probably says that it's Yuri or Shoujo Ai or one of those sort of things.
Or both.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of reading on some forums where people were talking about is this really Yuri, or is it just two girls happen to be in a show and they're calling it Yuri because that's, and the consensus from the manga readers was that there's very little Yuri that will likely appear in this season of it.
Oh, okay.
If they get into a second season, we might get a little bit more actual,
Interesting.
Shoujo Ai stuff.
That surprises me because it seemed relatively light on story in this first episode where
Yeah, but it's just setup. It's world building and
I
stuff.
guess so. I mean, I had a lot of notes about like why are they even like they like she mentions Toriko mentions at one point because they
Toriko, bird child. Okay, I got it now. I'll remember her name.
okay. Well, let's back up a little bit. So first of all, they throw this salt. I guess we're just gonna spoil this damn episode. They throw this rock
We
salt.
don't have to. I mean, the first throwing, we don't have to.
That's true. That's true. But they Toriko throws this rock salt at this monster, and it's like you vaguely kind of see the monster. They're sort of like transparent, but they have like some features
Yes,
that
yes.
let you know there's something there. And they neutralize it, and it kind of like I don't know if it turns into or produces this like cube that reflects
There is,
everything
like, the
except
super cube thing. Yeah.
it doesn't reflect humans, I guess, but everything else around it.
Well, we don't find that out till later either. But
Yeah, that's true. But at least
at first,
seemingly.
it just looks like a shiny rainbow cube.
Okay, so then there's these portals, right? And so they portal back to, their, Earth, Japan, wherever they live. And they're just in this like nondescript room, and I was kind of confused by this room. I was like, they don't explain what this room is. If either of them live there, it's just like it doesn't look like a business or even a home, but it's just like a large room. And they, at some point,
There's some explanation of what it was. I just don't remember because
Really?
it's been over a week since I watched it.
That's true. But then Toriko, at some point, they realize they have this. She shows her the cube, shows Sorao the cube, and they're like, "Oh, cool." And then Toriko is like, "Oh, we can sell it," and she's like, "Really?" But then, like, that's never established. Like, they eventually go back to the other side to replicate what they had done.
It's a farm, yeah.
And they have difficulty doing that, and it's a whole like thing, and that part was cool. Like they have to figure it out. But like we still don't know like why they're doing it. Like it. That's my biggest complaint with the episode is like I enjoyed it. I liked the characters, and I was into the other side. Looked really pretty, like the animation, and then when they went back to their world, it was kind of drab looking, and so I had this like contrast going of like the Flight of Fancy kind of sort of setup.
So, I mean, Soro, I think, says why. I don't know, maybe she doesn't say it. Maybe it was just assumed. Why she's there was to sort of get away from people, and also because it's there, because she heard about it. And she's like, oh, well, I can go to this other side and chill in a mud puddle if I want.
Yeah, and she had never. It's like she went there and saw that there were like crazy monsters at some point, right? She was checking it out and saw that, and then was just okay with that. It was like, I'm just gonna lay in a puddle until like one of them kills me or something.
Yeah, basically.
And she had never seen a human there until Toriko, and so like that's I'm all with it up with that, but then it's like their motivation of replicating this experiment and like going through all this, like as traumatic as it is. I guess Sorao already doesn't really have like she doesn't really care about her life much. She's willing to throw it away, but it's just unclear with Toriko and why they would form this bond. I was just unclear on that, and it kind of bothered
their
me.
bond.
Yeah.
That's true. No, I mean it's really that they sort of ran into each other. Toriko, yeah, she kills the thing and then she finds the little rainbow shiny thing, and says, "Oh yeah, we can sell it or whatever." Like I don't know if you missed that when she said it the first time.
Yeah. Well, she said we can sell it, and then
before they went back.
Sorao
to
was
the place.
like, how do you know that? It was basically like made some comment about really like we don't even know what this is, and you want to sell it.
Well, she didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
but Toriko, I think, did.
You think so? Okay.
I think Toriko knew that she could sell it. Like she knew that there was.
She seemed very confident of that, but I took that as like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I just took that as like she just assumed because it was this weird artifact. But
no, she seemed to know. Like that goes back to the whole thing of her having a bag full of the salt rocks. Like she was there hunting. Like that's what she was there for.
Yeah.
I think.
But she didn't have any. She hadn't successfully done it yet.
Right. She had just heard things
Yeah.
and.
But I mean, that's a lot of happenstance going on, right?
Well, she didn't just happen to have a bag full of salt rocks. She had heard that
No,
would
but
kill
it just
the
happened
things.
to be her first, because clearly she didn't know it wasn't going to work, right? but later, I mean, spoilers. Later, we find out that the reason it worked is because Sora was like making visual contact with
Yeah.
this monster, and
Right.
so there's a lot of happenstance for me where it's like Toriko. It was her first time trying it. Not only that, but she was there to
Yeah.
do it. So she had just arrived there. You assume, or hadn't been there long.
She had been there a few times before. It seemed like it wasn't her
Yes,
first
she had
time
found.
there, but
That's another thing I wrote down. She had found multiple guns because she gave Sora one of them, and she mentioned it. And I wanted to ask you too because I did a Makarov gun, which I looked up and is like it's a Soviet like semi-automatic pistol that's like kind of like
oh, Markov. Yeah, that's
Makarov or what is it?
I don't know if it's
Makarov?
Malakov.
When I looked it up, it was Makarov, but Makarov,
Oh.
I don't know. Makarov is the
Okay.
spelling.
I sort of recognize it as being some sort of actual gun thing I'd heard of
Okay.
maybe at some point.
But I just thought I don't know a lot about guns, but so I didn't wasn't like, oh yeah, I know that gun. But Toriko was when she pulled it out, when they get back to the real world and like something bangs on the door and she like pulls out her gun and she's like, oh, you have a gun, and she's like, oh, it's just a Makarov, like don't worry about it, like. And I was confused by that. Is that like a less dangerous gun thing? What? Or that's just her
Yeah.
personality being like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly she meant by that, other than it's not like a machine gun. It's not because she seems
Yeah.
like the type that would just pull out an M16 or right?
Yeah, some
So she's
heavy.
just saying, it's just a 9mm pistol. It's
Oh,
not,
okay, yeah, I see. All right, other side picnic, I suppose.
Or
Um,
Urasakai picnic.
Otisakai picnic. I had one other thing that I thought was funny. That I noticed after they got back to the real world. Sora was like doing some googling, and Toriko was like hanging out with her, and she like pulled up like some like article on like these old ruins, because she had mentioned before like I read this story about 2003, and I literally wrote the lore of 2003. Oh my god! But she was looking up like an article on a website article on like the ruins of whatever in their world, and in the corner there was like a symbol that is like blatantly the Aphex Twin like a logo, and I don't know. So it's a little Easter egg, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I gave this a C plus / B minus. So I was right on that line.
Oh yeah, letter grades.
Yeah, letter grades. I will watch more of it, but I want to see like something more gripping. Like I need a little more. I feel like this episode kind of took its time and it didn't give me like I said earlier like a lot of stake in these characters. Like there's something there that I want to sink my teeth into, but like I wasn't convinced of like this story is worthwhile.
I mean, I think it'll be there. It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. This like a 6 out of 10, which is
Yeah. It's right on that line.
almost the bare minimum for me to continue watching. There are things that I would give a 5 that I will at least give another episode to, but 6 means I'm going to watch at least 3, if not more. I'll probably watch the whole season, honestly, if it's a 6. So, yeah. So I gave it a 6 out of 10.
All right, we're pretty close on that then. So we'll watch more and
Yeah.
see how it
was-
goes.
Interesting enough, intriguing enough to watch more. And that's about all there is to say about that. I
Yes.
guess. All right, so we got the last dungeon. I don't want to say the full title. I just call it Last Dungeon.
Is that the English title? I did not see this one. So
No, the English title is So I'm a Kid Who Was Born in the Last Dungeon Town and Now I'm going to Starve a Town or some shit like that.
oh yes.
Last Dungeon Kid.
Yeah,
You didn't watch this?
I did not. Did you?
I did. Even though I dislike isekai a lot. And I mean, it's technically not an isekai.
What's that
because
special-
It's not another world. It's the same world, but it has that same, like, overpowered vibe to it. He goes back and he's just so overpowered. Like, at least in the synopsis that I read, that's what it said. I was, pleasantly surprised by it, I guess. It wasn't terrible, but it is pretty standard isekai fare. The thing that I liked about it was sort of interesting, the dynamic of this kid who is basically super OP and doesn't realize it. There's a lot of, comedic effect played off. It is basically a parody of an isekai without actually being an isekai itself. But in the episode, there seems to be a developing relationship between the main character and a main female character, which seems like it could be cute and interesting. And with all of the comedy elements, which are making fun of a genre that I really don't like very much, yeah, that's why I gave it a 6. I was okay with it because of that.
Okay.
All right, let's move on then. All right, Gekidoro.
Gekidol.
Act Idol, I think, is what the English translation on whatever streaming site it's on says. Yeah, I watched it. Did you watch it?
I didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on it. Did
you watch Alice?
Alice in Deadly School?
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't find it on official streaming.
I told you it was part of the. So there was like the preview thing where it's like the first episode plus Alice in Deadly School. So the first episode includes Alice in Deadly School.
I see.
Because it's like a 45-minute thing. So it's 24 and 24 or whatever, however it works out.
Wow. Yeah,
so the first half is Gekido episode, and the second part is Alice in Deadly School. And, both of them sucked. So there you go.
Nothing more to say?
I could say more. Let's see. Gekido. Fairly uninspiring. It's, set up like your standard idol anime where there's this girl who wants to be an idol really bad, and whatever, I guess that's what she's going to do. And then Alice in Deadly School, supposedly related to Gekido somehow.
Well, there's some sort of like theater or like they put on some sort of.
Right, so it's acting. It's acting in like plays and stuff like that. Like that's what Gekido is about. And then at the end of the first episode, they just said, "Hey, this is our first play. Please enjoy this presentation of Alice in Deadly School." And then it just starts into this thing that's doesn't look like a stage play.
Their acting is just so good. It's like real.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's a one-off. That's like a one-off.
This thing just die? Okay. But yeah, so originally, when I first heard about this back in 2016, it was supposed to be like a full season of, I guess it's a 18-chapter manga. And this company who made Gekido was supposed to be making an anime adaptation of it. And it seems like they started to work on it, and then they didn't want to throw away all their progress, so they just had it on a shelf somewhere. And then when Gekidol was coming out, they decided to use this partially completed anime adaptation to promote it. I don't know. Huh. Apparently, the thing that was aired, the 23-minute episode, was a shortened version of what they have, and there's going to be an OVA that comes out that's closer to an hour in length with the Gekido Season 1 DVD.
So that'll
Blu-ray
finish the Alice in Deadly School.
So Alice in Deadly School, it's the same exact story as what we saw in the 23-minute.
Oh.
I believe there may be more on the end, but I think it's stretched out a bit because the editing, I mean, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I read online, people were complaining about the jump cut editing, which it does a lot, where it's like, here, let's set up the situation. Okay, and here, let's, now we're in a completely different place with completely different characters, and you don't know what's going on, but we're just going to continue acting like this is completely normal. It jumps around a lot. Okay. So it was not particularly enjoyable to watch. I want to watch the OVA when it comes out.
Okay.
And see if it's any better. But I am disappointed that it didn't get its own series because who was it that made this thing? Whatever the animation studio is, I guess lost inspiration, or I don't know what happened. They just like literally 2016. I first heard about this anime. It was supposed to be coming out like the next season or within the next year anyway. Yeah, maybe even earlier than that. I don't remember. Maybe it was 2015.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Gekidol.
Hold out.
And,
Hold out for the OVA.
yeah. I can't think of any reason that anyone would want to watch Gekidol, but I mean, if you like anime, not anime, if you like idol anime, it's not very good, even in that subgenre that it is trying to be in. Yeah. Don't watch it. All right, I talked about that one way too long. All right, let's talk about another one you haven't watched. I Star Chu or Ichu, maybe. Ichu.
I don't chew. But
Hey, look, it actually has English on the title for you.
mm.
It's a bunch of sexy guys that want to be idols. That
Oh,
are
they're
all
like-
in this school together, and they all get separated into their own groups, their own idol groups. And if you've looked at the poster, you're going to see the three. Yes, those are all boys on that poster.
Thanks for clarifying.
I mean, I thought that was a girl on the right when I first saw
Yeah,
it. So
pink-haired.
Yes, he is somewhat effeminate, but definitely a male character.
Yeah, and they look like college age.
They're all high school students.
They're high
I think.
school,
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so, if I remember right. It was okay. It just barely is getting another episode
Okay.
from me. And I would like to give you a reason why, but I don't remember.
Is that another 6 out of 10?
Well, that one's a 5, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Yeah, I believe I gave that a 5. Why was it? Why do I even want to watch another episode? I actually don't know. Like it's sort of ludicrous in some ways. Like it's a ludicrous high school anime with handsome boys that want to be idols, and yeah, no, I don't want to watch another episode. To be honest with you, I probably won't. I did.
That's what I
haven't actually dropped it yet,
Okay.
but I think by the time the next episode comes around, and I think, do I want to watch another episode of this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say no, and I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah. And that per your review, that sounds fitting.
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, there's people out there that will probably love that.
Oh, sure.
Italia fans, maybe, I don't know, but because they like the handsome boy animes, right? I don't know. Just not my thing.
And then Beastars, I have not seen because I don't know.
Because it's in Netflix jail in the United States.
Yes, it's in Netflix jail. It's not legally available. And but you found the spy you are found a.
It wasn't terribly difficult. It's available everywhere except the U.S., like literally on Netflix. And I know that you have a VPN, so don't know why you haven't watched it. But it looks good. It looks promising. It's off to a good start. I have concerns, but they involve spoilers, and I can't tell you.
Okay, well, I'll have to watch that, and we can talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah, but it's good. It's worth watching. If you're not sure if you're interested in Beastars second season, I dropped the first season. I didn't drop it. I paused the first season after I think 9 episodes, and then before the second season came out, I decided to catch up and watch the remaining 3 episodes to
nice.
finish it. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, I got 9 episodes in, and it just got into, I don't know, sort of a weird territory that I was like, I can see where this is going, and I'm not really that interested. And then when I realized that it was actually only 12 episodes and not 24 episodes, because I thought it was, going to be just continue on like that for another full half a season, or full season, I guess. I decided that I could watch 3 more episodes, and it got out of the stuff that I didn't care for pretty quickly. It got interesting again. So by the time I got to the end of the first season, I was ready for the second season.
Nice.
And yeah, and it's delivering on its promise to be interesting and good and just beautiful animation. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the CG in that show is like, I think the best ever in any anime I've seen.
I don't like 3D animation most of the time.
Oh, the 3D, yeah.
But it gets a pass. It does it really well.
Yeah, it like integrates it, like, because usually it just stands out too much, where it's like jarring, like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, it doesn't look like, well, something else that's on this list a little further down. And what was that one about the girls that were made of gemstones? Did you ever watch that?
Oh, I never watched it, but
I did. It was terrible.
I know what you're talking about. People really like that show
It's the
too.
worst 3D animation. Yes, it may have a great story. I'm sorry, the animation lost me, so I never watched that. I don't even remember what it's called. But let's not talk about anime of seasons past. Let's move on to Heaven's Design Team.
Yeah.
Look, I said it in English for you.
Nice. Tenchi Sozo Design Boo.
Yes. You watched this?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there we go. We got another one we both saw.
We both watched. All right.
Yeah, I mean, this show it's sort of like, you can't really spoil it because it's a pretty basic premise. Like, it's about this like team of designers coming up with animals because God is like supposedly like too busy for all that. He doesn't have time, or he's just lazy. I'm not sure. But yeah, they our main character is basically just an insert character for the audience, which is fine. It works well.
Yeah, he's like a bureaucrat basically. Like, he's the voice of God to the design team and God's eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, he's basically a stand-in for God because I guess they can't show God for some reason, probably.
But then, like, they want it both ways. So, like, when he's introduced in the beginning, it's like, he's like, oh, wow, there's a design team? How does that work? And we're like, oh, yes, please tell me. I don't know either. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
He's an idiot, but he's God's communique, I suppose.
Is he an idiot? I don't even think we know
he's not an
about
idiot
him to say he's an idiot. He's
just... that's true. He's in the dark, like we are when it first starts, and we learn as he does.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I liked it. You know, it basically like is a simple formula where, like, you know, they have a request from God to come up with some animal, and like they do it, and then there's, you know, some work, some don't, and they got to figure it out.
We've got a design process of things, and there's some comedy involved in that.
Yeah,
and
it's funny. I definitely laughed at a couple things, but like, for instance, they're eventually coming up with the giraffe. But there's but the idea is like something that can eat all these tall leaves. You know, these tall trees have leaves that need to be eaten, I suppose. And they're trying to come up with ideas for that, something like a Pegasus that flies, or, you know, some like weird tree that can just expand.
Yeah, the weird tree thing didn't make sense, but
yeah, but that got approved, so I guess that's a real thing. I don't know.
The weird tree?
Yeah, like at the end of that segment.
One of the later ones, not in that first part, but
yeah. Not immediately.
Which, speaking of segments, this is essentially a short anime, like your 3-minute to 7-minute anime. It's just they cram several of them into one episode.
Yeah. So
you get a half an hour, but you're getting like 3 to 4 episodes per half hour.
That's true. A lot happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they're coming up with the giraffe, one of the first iterations of the giraffe is, you know, one of the guys comes up with a long-necked deer, which is adorable. I loved it. And but it proves to be impractical. It falls over. It doesn't have the muscular strength.
It's too
long. But yeah, I don't know. It's cute. Like, I'm curious, like I'm sure there's not going to be much more to it, but I like it. I like the science, you know, aspect of it. I guess it could be kind of confusing for young viewers who, you know, children who don't, you know how science works and stuff. They're like, just the fact that like they're kind of reverse engineering like these animals, where it's like, we need an animal to do so and so, or like your snake is eating all my birds' eggs, and so we have to come up. And it's a clever metaphor for natural selection and survival of the fittest. And Darwin is even brought up when they go to the Galapagos Islands. Like it definitely has like a lot of science in it, but like I feel like for a young child, not that it would be dangerous, but they might just end up confused of like, oh yeah, the design team came up with, oh Galapagos Island, I know that's like where they they do all these experiments.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. I don't have that issue with it.
I just thought of that. I just thought of a young child watching that show and still being amused by it and learning from it, but then ultimately being confused about the order of things or
yeah.
But it's harmless enough. It's not a major criticism for sure.
Yeah. What would be my major criticism if I were to criticize this? It's pretty simple and basic, and like it's fine. It's amusing in parts, but it is sort of a kids show.
Yeah.
To me, anyway, is what it felt like.
Yeah, I get that. I was amused though. I like the engineer. She's like, I don't know, just very, I don't know, kind of casual, but also spirited, and I don't know. She caught my attention. There's all these different like archetypes of the design team, but she stood out to me of just being kind of amusing. I was entertained. Like the one guy that wants to eat everything.
Well, she's part of that though.
That's true. Yeah, well, she was like partaking in it. And
she was about eating everything as much as he was.
I don't know about as much,
he was about
she was
designing things that were delicious, and
yes.
she was about sampling them with him.
That's true. I don't know if she was 100%.
It's apparently part of the design process is to see how things taste if you're designing animals.
Which I mean, he did have like some reasoning of being like, well, like other animals have to find it,
Right. Sure. You could also, since you're designing animals, you could just make those other animals find whatever that tastes like delicious, while not making it taste good to humans.
Yeah. Which
angels?
That's never explained.
Are they angels?
Well, yeah,
I
mean, that's a good question. Is like hasn't been addressed yet. Like, who are these people? Because everything is very bureaucratic. Like that's what it kind of amused me of. Like everything is run like a like an actual like corporate.
Yes, it is a sort
entity.
Of business corporate entity that is designing things, but I don't know. Yeah, that was kind of a weird step for me. It's supposed to have happened, however long ago Christians believe that, God designed animals. But all of the culture within this group of people is very modern. So it's weird. It's a weird step. I guess I was fine with it after a couple minutes, but like right at first I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
I'm kind of with you. I was just like, but then at a certain point I was with it. But I like how fast God started approving things by like the end of the episode. They'd be like, what if we did this? And God's like, no, like approves it. I don't know. So I'm curious. I'll watch more of that. I gave it a solid B.
Oh, I probably gave it a 5.
Oh, really?
I wasn't crazy about it. I think I'm not immediately going to drop it. I have to find it on my list now. Tenchi Sozo Design Boo. Yep, gave it a 5. It was minimally passable for something I might consider watching, but I don't imagine it's going to survive another episode. I will probably watch another episode. I don't know if I'll make it all the way through it though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're a bit different on that one.
You gave it what, a B?
Mm-hmm.
That's like a 8?
7 or 8, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. 7.5, maybe.
Yeah, okay. No, don't see it.
I liked it.
Eurocamp Season 2. George, did you catch up on Eurocamp as I advised you to do?
You did advise me, but I did not have time for that.
All right, well then, we're not going to talk about it because you don't deserve to enjoy the pleasure that is Utica Camp.
Laid Back Camp, season 2.
Yeah, laid back.
I mean,
Good.
the title says it all, right? I mean,
It's so good.
I would like to watch it. Laid Back Camp is a healing show. I recently learned about healing shows. I mean, I knew that about shows that are healing shows, but I didn't know about the term.
Okay, you say so.
Yeah, well, they're shows like Non Biori. It's like shows that, not much happens, but
So slice
they're
of life
soothing. I guess so.
So you're just inventing a new word for slice of life. Or not you're inventing. Someone has invented and you're buying into it for some reason.
I don't think all slice of life shows would be considered healing shows, but
It's a subgenre of slice of life.
yeah, I think that's more accurate.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. You can call it what you want. I don't care.
Well, okay.
It's a great, comfy, watching the first episode of that was like, getting into a hot bath with a cup of hot chocolate and just, Yep, that's all you need to know. Let's move on.
Sounds restorative.
It's great, as is another one that you mentioned that we will be talking about later. All right, Tomozaki-kun. I don't remember the English title. What's the English title? The English title is Bottom Tier Character Tomozaki.
Oh, yes, okay. I just lumped this together with the fantasy starter town, whatever. That one we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Just because starter town, bottom tier.
Oh, right. So it does have the sort of gaming reference, although the starter town isn't really a gaming anime.
It's more fantasy. But the starter town is in reference to gaming.
Fantasy isekai. Well, yes, referring to it as a starter town
Yeah.
is in reference to gaming, but there's no gaming reference within the anime itself.
Yeah.
Whereas this anime is not an isekai at all. It's set in the modern day, and it's about a guy who's really good at one particular video game, and his life, I guess. I don't know.
We didn't even see this thing, right?
Oh, I watched this.
Oh, you did watch this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Continue then, sorry.
So he's really good at this video game, and at the beginning of the episode, he plays against the most popular boy at the school. I don't know that I can talk about this without giving spoilers, but because it's all just sort of set up for what's to come. So
yeah, whatever.
So this entire thing is just going to be spoilers for the first episode. If you haven't watched it, then that's fine. You don't need to. You can just listen to me and then start from the second episode. So he's playing this video game that he's very good at against the most popular boy at his school, who then, says, this game's terrible. You picked a good character. It's, gives all the excuses that you would in a video game. And our main character says, you can't call it a bad game just because you lost, because you're bad at it. And then later, our main character is playing online against the number 2 player in, I don't know if it's the world or Japan, but the number 2 player of this game that he's really good at. And this other player suggests that they meet in real life because they both live in the Tokyo area.
So they meet online, and then they're like, let's hook up.
Well, they know of each other because they're the number 1 and number 2 player of this game.
Oh,
right?
okay.
They probably play against each other all the time, but they, send messages, and the number 2 player says, "Hey, would you mind meeting up? If do you live in Tokyo? You want to meet up or something?" So they meet up, and it turns out it's this girl from his high school. Yeah.
Zing!
No one saw that coming. She is introduced earlier in the episode, and it is pretty obvious that that's what we're being set up for when it happens. But it's fine. Just move past it, move on. All right. And then so she is also a very popular girl at the school, and he is sort of perplexed by the idea that she could be really good at a video game and also be really good at real life, which throughout this episode they compare to a video game multiple times. Like, it's like the God tier game because it's, so complex. But he says that it's a trash game because, you start with your character, and, if you roll a bad character, then you're going to, lose at the game of life. You're not going to be popular like this girl. Anyway, and she sort of introduced the idea of like, you could be, I have to work hard to be as popular as I am, just like I have to work hard to be really good at this video game. You work hard to be good at the video game, but you aren't willing to, work at life to be popular.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a, what is it, Pretty Woman, any of those high school makeover movies. It's a little bit of that. She's going to teach him how to win.
How to adult.
Well, I mean, they're high school kids, but sure. How to win at the game of life. How to max out his character. There's a lot of gaming references in this because it's definitely a gaming sort of anime.
Interesting.
And it was cute and it was fine. I will probably watch 3 and be done with it. I can't imagine I will watch more than 3 unless something interesting develops between them or with another character or something. Like it's fine, but it's pretty standard fare, I think.
I haven't watched it, and I don't want to, but I'm curious if you're gonna watch 3. I'm curious to hear how things progress. I'd like to know, so I'll be keeping tabs on that with you.
Well, I'll tell you more about it next week.
All right.
I suppose. All right, next up, Idol. Oh, speaking of garbage, next up, Idols.
The third Idol show.
Another Idol show. This is the one that's the live capture, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I believe this one was a short, and it's it's your standard Idol anime fare. It's a group of girls all want to be idols, and there's really not much interesting story going on. It's mostly the fact that it's a live motion capture anime. All of them are just people that are wearing green suits, I assume, moving around a soundstage, saying their lines, and it's all captured, and then they animate over the top of that, essentially, with a computer. They don't even hand
This is the closest we can get to real life anime girls.
Yeah, it's like I forget what they're called. The YouTubers, the pseudo YouTubers.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right.
Like
we should look that up so we don't sound dumb.
I mean, it's not like Vocaloid stuff, right? Like Hatsune Miku and stuff like that. It's something different.
It's like YouTubers they have an animated character and they use motion capture to be those animated characters. And
yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't know enough about it to.
All right, there's a word for it. We should cut it out, but
we can just be ignorant. All right, moving on.
All right, fine.
So
Idols.
Yeah. Idols.
Standard. It's short enough that I guess you could watch it. I might watch another one of it just because it's it's a good little filler, sort of palate cleanser between other things. But it's like, it really is a palate cleanser because it has nothing to offer your palate by itself. It is bland AF, as the kids these days say.
So they do.
All right.
You can tell us a little bit about So I'm a Spider, So What?
Oh yeah, the spider isekai. So it's an isekai where this person is reincarnated as a spider. Go figure.
It's cute. It's a cute spider. I haven't seen it.
It is cute. Actually, this one was also a little bit surprising because I don't typically like isekais in a very broad general sense. I would say I don't like isekais.
Well, they have a bit of a bad
there
reputation.
Are a few that catch my interest, and the slime one from a couple seasons ago was one of those that was like, I was actually kind of surprised by how good it was, and this one struck me the same way. So much the same way, it's like a clone of the slime, but instead of a slime, it's a spider. There you go. That's it. That's all I have to say about it.
Okay.
It's the exact same anime, just a spider instead of a slime.
So it's competently done so far.
Yeah,
but
and it's got the cuteness to it, and it's got the the main character starts as like a nothing, little insignificant nothing spider versus slime, and like is working their way up to the next level, like literally level. A lot of video game references yet again.
Okay.
It is. I mean, it feels like just a straight up clone of that, but instead of slime, it's a spider, and there are cute moments, and there are funny things that happen, and it's interesting enough. But I've seen that show before, so
Okay. So you're saying if you're gonna go this route, watch Slime.
I mean, watch one or the other.
Okay.
But if you've already watched the slime, I wish I could remember the name, the actual English name of it. All I remember is Slime Ditaken is the ending part of the Japanese, but
That time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah.
That's the English title.
yeah, I would pick one of them. You know, if you've seen that, then
And that's
you're
also
probably not going to like this because it feels like a clone of it. And if you haven't seen that, then maybe you'll like this because it's newer.
and maybe you're more into spiders than slime. I mean, who's to say?
Maybe you'd be surprised how much you can be into slime.
But also,
100%.
Slime is continuing.
Yes, and
This,
we can talk about
season.
that later as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that, but we will talk about it.
There is actually, I mean, while we're here on the spider one, there's some difference between them story wise, at least the way it looks like it's going. Which I'm probably going to watch a second episode just to see if it does really veer off from being a clone.
Because one episode is, that's what I found with some of these things I've watched. One episode is kind of hard to
So
say.
there's the end of this episode has a tease for what's to come, which seems to indicate that maybe it's moving in a different direction than the slime one did.
Okay.
Not necessarily a more interesting direction, in my opinion, but it is different. So it's not a straight up clone, I guess. Maybe I was being a little harsh earlier. So in how much can I say without spoiling anything?
I'm gonna check out the spider one probably.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think I can say things without ruining too much. In the slime anime, we know what happened to the protagonist before they got reincarnated as a slime. In this, we don't, and they do that for a reason, and they sort of indicate something about that reason towards the end of the episode. That
okay.
at least that little hook at the end was enough that I am probably going to watch another episode. But
Okay.
I imagine it's going to be more just this little too much of a clone of things that I've seen before. I like new things. I don't like watching the same thing over and over. And
I hear
it
that.
feels like the same thing. All right, Cells at Work, Part 2.
Cells at Work is
2 exclamation points.
Cells at Work is continuing with its second season. I've seen a little bit of Cells at Work. I read a bit of the manga and I like it. I like everything about it. I just haven't got around to watching more of it. I did watch. We haven't got to it yet, but Code Black.
Yeah, that's down here somewhere.
Which we could wait, I guess.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we get to it because I have
You
not
saw
watched.
it, yeah.
I have not watched this.
Have you not seen any of Cells at Work?
No, I watched the first few. I don't remember how many. 2 or 3 of the original season. I found it cute and boring and mostly uninteresting, so I stopped after a few episodes. It's just like it had everything that I thought it was going to have. It just didn't have anything that made me want to keep watching it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's got a formula, and I appreciate what it's doing, but I get it. I mean, that's probably why I haven't watched more, is because like it's not like as a show grabbing me like and drawing me in, but it has a lot of neat like physiological thing. I don't know. Like I'm interested in like the body science, how they incorporate things and how it's used. But yeah, we'll talk about Code Black because we both watched.
Why don't we
that.
just talk about Code Black now?
Okay,
I
fine.
mean, we're already here.
We're
I know
here.
that, like we're sort of going through these in order of when they came out, and I don't think there's that actually much of a difference in the dates that they came out. When did? Where the heck is it?
Code Black.
It came out the next day. So
Okay.
while we're here, doesn't matter.
All right, we'll do Code Black.
Because there's some discussion of comparing this season of Cells at Work to the first season, and also Code Black to the first season. I think because I've seen both.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the second season. Of,
me neither. I didn't
of
get
Cells
that.
at Work,
I didn't get
but
that
I have
far.
watched some of the first season of Cells at Work and also Code Black this season.
So this Code Black, the first episode, I was after watching it, I was like, is this the best or the greatest anti-smoking PSA ever produced?
I mean, anti having fun, I think. I say as I sip my beer and.
I know the next episode's on alcohol. If you watch the preview, so I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, it's about all the horrible things we do to our body and how much our cells hate us for it.
And I love because the whole premise is like a red blood cell is like newly become a red blood cell, and they go through this whole training, which just consists of them watching like an intro video.
It's like orientation. Like
Yeah.
you do it I've had jobs where I had to
Yeah.
do that.
And they're like, oh, we're going to do on-the-job training, and they just get thrown into it, and it's nothing like the video. Everyone's like pissed off and in a rush. They're all overworked.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes and I just love that because it's like, yeah, this is a failing.
Because since that video was made, it was clearly like rendered as a sort of 80s or maybe
Old.
70s or something. It was an old video. Like, if you've ever had one of these orientations at your work, you've probably been forced to watch one of these on a Square TV, which they used to have back in the 90s and prior.
It's a relic.
Yeah. A CRT. It might have even actually been a CRT TV that they were watching it on.
Yeah, it did look like,
Yeah.
Which was great. It really went for that aesthetic of like you're sitting in orientation watching this like corny video.
Yep. I forget the point that I was making. Could I get playback of the last 3 minutes of my talking?
Well, I'll just keep talking, see if I can jog your memory. But we're in this perspective of this newbie who gets thrust into this body, and the newbie is thinking it's just this guy, and he's thinking like, oh, like they're gonna kind of ease me into it, and
this is gonna be great. Everyone in that video was so friendly, and they were so happy with the oxygen deliveries from their red blood cells, and everything's great.
Yeah.
But little does he know that since that video was made, everything went to hell in a handbasket, basically.
Yes.
The body that we're in has not been taking care of himself. Drinking, smoking.
Yeah.
I think there was some indication of drug use, possibly even.
Possibly.
It was
I was wondering too.
It's very lightly hinted at because I don't think Japan would really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some things going on where like infections were sprouting up, and I'm trying to remember exactly what. But I mean, if you've never seen the show, like Cells at Work, the original, like it picks up from that aesthetic where like the red blood cells all have, they're all people, but they have their own like outfits and like they look similar,
Right.
and versus like the platelets and the T cells.
Which so they sort of they go through that really quickly in this episode.
Which I like. They kind of introduce
sort
it
of
really quickly.
introduction of the different character tiers or whatever you want to call them. Which they go into in much more depth in the first season of Cells at Work.
Yeah, they take their time kind of introducing each one.
Yeah, which I think from my perspective, it's nice to have seen that before having seen this, but I think that you could just dive into this and you'd be okay.
I think so.
You're not going to watch this unless you sort of understand the concept to begin with, I think.
Yeah.
If you don't, then yeah, you might be a little lost. I think you would catch up pretty quick though. Yeah, I don't think you need to have watched the previous season to watch this.
Yeah, probably not.
But it definitely doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it would help. Yeah. But it's fun. Like they inject like different science facts and kind of explain like. I kind of like it more compared to like Heaven's Design Team, where they are incorporating like scientific facts, but there's also a fantasy element too. But with this, it's like it's all science. Like everything is, they might kind of fudge some things here and there, but in general, like a kid could watch this and actually learn something, versus like Heaven's Design Team, they'll learn something, but then they'll also be, there's some things left to the imagination. So I don't know.
From the perspective of this being accurate and scientific and stuff, the problem that I had with it, just one problem in particular, when there was carbon monoxide, it wasn't another character. It was this gas that came in and affected them. But carbon monoxide is a gas, so it makes sense. But in this micromolecular level that we're looking at, it didn't make sense anymore, and that bothered me a little bit. But I mean, it's not enough to make me dislike the show.
You could, I mean, that's a good point. Like, you could at least seen like a little character like attaching to the red blood cells, because they were making a whole point about the hemoglobin reacts with the carbon monoxide and kind of shuts it off. But yeah, so I agree with you there. That could have been like visually represented as something.
Right. Yeah, I didn't understand why they did it the way they did. I mean, probably because it was in the manga, but I don't understand why the manga did it the way they did.
Yeah. I kept thinking, I was kind of excited and nervous to watch Code Black, Cells at Work Code Black, because I wanted it to, I want to eat healthier and just treat my body better, and I was hoping it would give me, that motivation, and it did. It was like,
definitely will do that.
It left a lasting image in my brain of like, my blood cells just being pissed off, platelets being brats, and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, they were such jerks. Like, they were so nice in the original one.
Yeah, they're so
like,
sweet.
They were just jerks in this one. It felt bad. I mean, it was funny and cute, but it was, yeah.
And to your point earlier, it definitely helped seeing the original Cells at Work first, and then seeing at least one episode.
So for that explanation, I guess, and they did show them, I think, in the video as well, being friendly and nice, but that's like a really short snippet versus what you get in the first few episodes of the first season.
It creates nice goalposts, like if you're treating your body well versus if you're not. But then there's something to be said too, because like in this body in this first episode of Code Black, they're a smoker, and they had quit for like 10 years and they started again, and like great.
That's where the carbon monoxide comes in, of course.
And it's so funny. They're all like they just know. They're like, well, if they're doing it again now, it's gonna keep happening. Like, it's addictive. We get it.
Yeah.
We smoke too. No, I don't. But I had something else going there with that. But I don't know. It's just like, they kind of reference like, back when this body was younger, things were a lot better, and so that's an aspect too.
Which I wonder. So I don't think it's the same characters as the original. It's been quite a while since I saw the first season. But I wonder if this is supposed to just be that same body later in life.
Maybe. Doesn't bounce back.
Because those characters, being the cells that they are, would live and die several times before it got to the generation that we're at. So
I was wondering, because we in the original Cells at Work, we get a male white blood cell. That's kind of the lead.
Oh yeah.
But in this one, we had a badass female. Was like,
she was pretty awesome.
Yeah, she was cool. I mean, they're both, the white blood cells are cool by nature, but
sure. I mean, honestly, the white blood cell in the original, I didn't care for the character that much. Like,
kind of stoic and
yes, a little too stoic, I guess, for my tastes.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess the girl in this one also is, but I guess I like that more in a female. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. Well, she was kind of She was kind of like a little nurturing.
That's true.
To our main character, like.
But she was very like matter of fact, but also at the same time like saying, do this, do that, trying to keep him safe and stuff.
In contrast to some of the other cells that were, kind of dicks to him. Like,
yes.
She was pretty sweet natured. Like even the platelets who were like little kids or like brats.
Yeah. They were jerks.
Although I think one of them in the back was like, sorry, she's usually not like this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's usually not like this, but everything's going crazy because, our person hasn't taken care of his body in years.
So even in this show where like platelets are personified, not all hashtag not all platelets, like basically. Like.
Okay, so Cells at Work Code Black. I like it better than the first season because I'm planning to continue watching it.
Oh, nice.
The first season of the original Cells at Work, I think I knew from the first episode that it just wasn't for me, but there was some interesting stuff that I never actually saw developed because I didn't watch enough of it.
Mm.
But this, I will. I feel like I will watch the whole season. I like the sort of self-destructive aspect of it. I guess. I don't know.
Oh, in like a almost in like a.
Yeah, I'm just watching the cells in my own body in this one. In the original one, it was all like honky dory, someone that hikes 2 miles every day.
This one you can relate
This
to.
one is like, yeah, I drink, I smoke, I do bad things.
You vape.
I used to smoke.
That's true.
Every once in a while I do. Still.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, so yeah, when you light up with your occasional smoke, that's how your body's reacting.
That's right. It's great. It's great to see that.
Funny. I like it too. I gave it a B. I'm doing a letter grading thing, but
yeah. Hold on, I gotta get my phone.
Yeah. Well, while I talk about my thoughts, you can look yours up. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I like the original Cells at Work, but I feel like I actually will, like you said, continue watching this because I don't know, like it's got a couple things going on. The fact that it's a failing body is very interesting. Like learning about like when things go wrong, just it makes for a more interesting like story, but also more interesting facts. I think like with the science, that it like in this episode, like there's certain parts where like there's not much going on, but it's like talking about like acetylcholine and like how it attaches and like I don't know, stuff like that where it's like it's kind of just dumping like some science facts on you, but it's not really like working into the narrative.
There's a lot of that, like the virus, like they named whatever the virus was. I don't remember what it was. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It was like staph virus or something, right?
I think this one was pneumonia. It was like pneumococcus or something.
Oh, there was pneumonia.
Yeah,
you're right.
This one got pneumonia.
Mm.
But so I like that aspect of it. But then like the fact that it is a failing body, it gives like the whole story and like characters like tension, and it's more exciting.
There's an urgency to them. Like so, the red blood cell that has to deliver the oxygen.
Yeah.
Oxygen. There's an urgency to that because the body will fail without the oxygen, and despite all of the terrible things happening around you, you have to just plow through. And now it sounds like a shonen battle anime, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, because there is a formula to it, but it still has that like a lot of shows that have a formula, like Heaven's Design Team, which I like. I'm gonna keep watching that, but it doesn't have that like urgency to it because
there's no stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than steaks made of
yeah, there's actual meat.
Giraffes that didn't quite work out.
That long neck deer. That deer was so cute. So I'm with you. I think we're on the same page. What did you give Code Black? Did you find?
I gave it a 7, which is
okay.
Sort of equivalent to a B, I suppose, right?
I consider it like a 7.5, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like
so ish.
10.9 would be an A, 7.8 would be a B, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah.
I guess it's a low B, but I'm not going to give anything a 9 on the first episode. That's just impossible. There's no way anything can possibly achieve that level.
I gave one thing an A, which I would consider per what I was saying an 8.5, which an A plus would be like a 9, and then S tier I guess would be
and a
like
10 requires some sort of like history with it, like if it's like a second season or even a third season,
or even just a first season as a whole. Like, but a first episode, like I can't. Like,
I mean, a first season to be a 10 is tough upon initial watch. Like, that's something that like 2 years later you come back and you're like, oh, that was such a good show, and you bump it up from a 9 to a 10.
I agree.
Like, you can't earn a 10 just. Yeah, you just can't.
Yeah, no, I agree. Time is kind of necessary when it comes to your 10s. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But I think sometimes you can just like, even if a show I really loved and I'd be like tempted to give it a 10, I wouldn't because I give it that time, but it still may be a 10. But anyway, all right, that was Cells at Work.
And Cells at Work. Code Black.
Yes,
we sort of skipped ahead to, but we'll skip over it later. All right, next we've got Project Scarred.
I don't even know what that is.
No, it's terrible.
You watched it?
Yep.
All right, it sucks.
Okay. Yeah, so I only have 4 that I dropped. This was one of them. This is literally the lowest score I gave anything that I've watched.
Wow.
I gave this a 3, which is really I mean, that's hard to obtain. Like we were talking about how hard it is to get a 10.
Yeah.
Like a 5 is like meh, but I could live without it. A 4 is like, well, that was bad. I don't want to watch any more of that. A 3 is like, it actually made me angry that I watched it. You know, like it just.
Well, that's.
I wish I had more input to give on it because it's so. It's just so bad. I don't care to remember it. I think.
And that's fair. I don't want to give you flashbacks, man.
I don't know.
Well, now I would like to talk some shit
Now.
about a little show called Back Arrow. Yes. I don't know. I mean, maybe people like this show. I wrote on here simplistic and bland, and I still feel that way. And it's not like it was bad. I mean, it wasn't bad in the way that it offended me, but it's just so like they set up this whole thing in the beginning. Like there's these warring countries or warring, whatever
Tribes.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like from the very get-go, I don't care. Like you haven't established any reason for me to care about this. I'm just like, okay, info dump, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to introduce this small village, and
No, I like the village.
yeah, the village was fine. Like I didn't mind it, but then like this craft or some sort of thing like lands in their
Right,
village.
which they introduced in the story about 2 minutes before the one in the village lands.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
like it's like a drop in a video game. It's like a chest or
much.
something like that. Like it's this thing that shows up and like helps the player of the video game, or in this
Yeah.
case the people of the land.
Well, and all the villagers just assume there's food in it. And
Right.
So they start
Because
praising
typically,
it.
I guess that's what happens.
That's
Is
what
like
happens.
these things just drop out of the sky and give food, and because everyone that lives, so this is the one that sounded to me like a Attack on Titan sort of clone thing.
Yeah, because there's
Because
a
they all
wall.
live
They're
within a
walled
wall,
in, yeah.
right? Yes, and they all sort of worship the wall, or the wall protects them, or whatever. I don't know. Which is,
But is it
in
just-
the first season of Attack on Titan?
Is it
certainly
just
been-
this village, or is it all these warring states? Like it's all these people that live in a
everyone
wall.
that they know about that they introduced lives within
lives
the wall.
on the wall.
Yeah.
And this
So
guy
it's
comes
like-
from outside.
It's a wall that's like a really big area that it covers.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's as big as Attack on Titan, which I've seen like on a map compared to the United States, and that's pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that big, but it seems fairly large because the small village we can see one of the walls, but we can't see any of the rest in any direction. So
Yeah.
it's probably a fairly
That'd
large
be big.
area that it covers. But yeah, so there's these things that drop out of the sky, and the people within the wall believe that it's gifts from the wall because it always contains something good, right? That helps them
Yeah.
in some way.
So they don't know that it'll be food. They're
And they
just
sort
hoping.
of worship the wall as a pseudo god, I suppose,
Mhm.
in some way. There seems to possibly be some religion formed around this wall, which
Yeah,
they
very
don't delve
big-
into really deep. But
Yeah,
it
nothing
seems
is
to
delved into deep in this first episode.
That's true. That's true. But it starts off like, I mean, I talk trash about shonen battle anime all the time, but it definitely has some of those vibes, but there's some things that are interesting. There's some story elements that are interesting enough. I really like sci-fi, and there's some sci-fi in this. And I hate mecha, which is weird because those two like often go together, but
Yeah.
I
And there's
I
mecha,
separate
and
them.
they go together in this.
And there is, I guess, mecha in this. I didn't think
Well,
I
yeah,
would
they-
have classified it as mecha when I was first watching it.
That's
But in
true.
retrospect, it does make sense to classify it that way. It definitely
Yeah, it's not like traditional.
giant robots fighting each other.
Yeah.
That's mecha.
Yeah.
And then
And it's some sort of organic mecha where they have these like rings and they put them on their arms and they transform into like some representation, some mecha representation of their personality or their fighting style, or
Mhm.
I'm not even sure.
yeah,
It
what
seems to
was-
just manifest itself like,
no, there was a word that they used though. What was it again? You remember?
oh, the conviction, yeah.
Their
Your
conviction,
conviction,
yes.
And so that's leading me up to, I mean, we're spoiling this whole episode, but I do not care. I think it sucks. But the whole reveal happens where, I mean, there was a kind of a funny, like, there was some funny moments where, because this guy lands in this, like, in this drop thing that you
Yes, we didn't even get into that.
I know. So they finally bust it open, and he's the only thing that's in it, seemingly, and he's naked, and he says he doesn't remember anything, but he came from outside the wall, and they laugh at him, blah, blah, blah.
There's a lot of being naked humor.
Yes, and then this one of these warring, states or whatever shows up, and they're, they or I guess it's not even an army; it's just some guy. Like some guy shows up and steals one of the rings.
One of the warring states is sort of watching from the sidelines, like, oh, we'll wait until they do whatever they're doing, then we'll go in and steal it.
Yeah, and that there was no payoff.
But that doesn't happen. They just watch as this other random sort of vagabond dude who goes around to wherever these drops drop.
Yeah, and, another thing that was not set up or
yeah
that we have any reason to care about. But yes, continue.
Right, yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of that. Like, the initial introduction to these drops things was an entirely different nation than this nation that's watching, or this random dude. None of this makes sense, as I'm saying.
I'm following it, but I saw
it. Comes out of my mouth, and I realize that it doesn't really make sense. So this thing falls out of the sky, and these people assume that it's full of food because that's usually what's in these things, because that's what the wall gives them, because these are gifts from the wall. And then Goku pops out and beats someone up with his mecha transformation, dude. Episode done.
Yes, but then but there was a funny part that I liked, a funny transaction where this guy shows up and he steals one of these rings. They have these rings. Another thing that wasn't really well set up. He puts on one of these rings. He turns into like a mecha representation of his conviction. Like, okay, yeah, we all understand what I'm talking about. And then.
Sorry, I walked out of the room, but did you say he steals one of the rings?
Doesn't he?
No.
Or he has his own? Or he wants to steal
Which guy are you talking about that steals?
The guy that just shows up randomly.
Oh, he had one. It was in his... So he went looking at his craft to the drop vessel to see if there was anything that could help with the situation. Mm. And he finds a ring, because why wouldn't there be one in his
so he does technically craft? Steal it, right? He gets into that.
Well, I mean, it was his craft that he was in. He doesn't remember anything, so he... Presumably, presumes that
I'm not talking about that dude. I'm talking about the other, the guy that just shows up and transforms.
Oh, random dude that shows up?
He has his own ring.
He has his own ring. Oh, okay. He comes with his own ring.
Okay.
He goes around with his ring, and he, finds these drops, and he steals them from people.
Oh, okay. So he was all prepared.
He was
all prepared to do that.
Yeah, that's what he was doing.
So he transforms, and then this girl, who was like the daughter of the chief, is like, she gives... This is where I laughed. The one part where I was amused by this episode, where she gives him her dad's underwear.
The underwear. So this is back to the naked humor that we mentioned before.
Yeah, which they did set. This is the one thing they set up was the nudity humor. Yes. That's the only thing that was set up. So she hands him her dad's underwear, and then she proceeds to say, like, I'm the chief now. I have to protect the village. Okay. Right. And so she puts on a ring and transforms, and she's got a cute, like, robot mecha thing. But then our dude, the main, our protagonist who, like, doesn't know anything and, like, is, how do you relate to this fucking guy, right? Already.
Well, we don't know anything either, so he's...
Yeah, but it's he's
the audience in a character. Like, we've just been dropped into this world knowing nothing. And all this crazy shit's happening around us. That's where he's at.
Yes, yeah, that is true.
He's much more of a cocksure douchebag.
Yes, yeah. It's like the audience is meant to be in his perspective, but then it turns out he's this badass hero, and it's like, well, none of it was earned. But anyway, he continues to just hold the underwear. He doesn't actually put them on.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just the one that whole transaction I found amusing. But then I got really annoyed. Like, the whole reveal, basically, this girl who transforms, getting her ass kicked. Mm. And so he eventually, like you were saying, finds the ring.
Right, goes to his vessel, finds the ring.
And puts it on and transforms. And so he saves her, which is cool. But then he's fighting this other dude, and the other dude goes to hit him, and he can't, essentially because he has no conviction. Because when he went to put the ring on, he was like, "This'll work, probably." And he doesn't, it's like he doesn't, I guess it's kind of making fun of, like, these sort of characters who, wake up from a coma or whatever and have no idea what's going on, yet they're badass fucking
Yeah, so
fighters.
he's like a blank slate. I mean, this says something about the whole. Again, this is the religion inside the wall. Is that these rings manifest these mecha-ish sort of apparitions or whatever, as a basis of you, or based on your conviction towards it.
Yeah.
Yet he has no memory, so he has no conviction that he knows of anyway. And presumably it's to save the girl, but whatever.
He was paying her back for the underwear, which she didn't even put on, but
no, at least she gave them to him, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, the whole idea that he has no conviction sort of flies in the face of the beliefs of everyone who lives inside the wall, who believes that the rings represent your conviction. He's like, yeah, I didn't really have it. I just put it on because I figured it'd help, And that's how I imagine the dub voice of him sounds. I haven't seen the dub. I don't know if there is a dub yet.
It's not out yet.
Yeah. I bet he sounds just like that.
I hope it doesn't get dubbed, because that'll mean it's popular if it does. But everything you just described is like
it's not well rated.
The reason I think it's a not technically an isekai, but is an example of a bad isekai, in the sense like we're talking about derogatorily, because it's an isekai in the sense that he's thrust into this world beyond the wall that he's not from.
He's a stranger in a strange land,
but he's void of any personality. He's void of any memory, and he has no conviction.
He has personality.
I guess. I
mean,
mean,
say he's void of personality. Like he's
there's
very
nothing
sort of egocentric, and like I say, he's a douchebag. He's not just completely blank towards everyone there. He's sort of a douche.
Yeah, he is kind of a
self-centered douche.
Yeah, but that's not a good protagonist. I'm like,
I mean, if you're a self-centered douche, this might be an anime you like, because you can identify with the main character.
You probably watch a lot of isekai.
You probably watch a lot of shonen battle anime.
Well, hey, I don't know if that's fair. Well, see, that's the thing with shonen. I mean, not all of them. There are bad shonen. Like, this is probably technically a shonen more than an isekai.
Yeah.
And I think it's bad. But with good shonen, you have a compelling character. Like, you have your Luffy's, or even your Goku's, if you want to go that route. But
I would say this is as much an isekai as The Promised Neverland is, because it's not another world. It's a world that we're not familiar with.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but I wouldn't say that this is an isekai, even though he is sort of thrust into this world that he's not familiar with. It doesn't have that vibe. Yes, he does come off as like overpowered and everything, but it doesn't. I don't know.
Well, to me, we've talked about this before off mic, but an isekai to me is a stranger in a strange land, and the reason it's that is because they're transported to this new world and they get a clean slate. They know no one here, and they're also exploring this like fantasy world. But to me, in this, it's like we're not from his perspective. We don't know where he came from, so he's sort of a mystery. But he's still a stranger in a strange land.
The inside of the wall than we know about where he came from outside of the wall.
That's true.
Which I think is something that they're going to. I assume is something they're going to explore further.
But I think
like what's outside the wall, which is why I brought up Promised Neverland, is because what's outside the wall.
Yeah, but that show builds up what's outside the wall like so well. Like they're just trying. I mean,
Right. Well, it's doing the opposite thing of what we're talking about here. It's not like being thrust inside the wall. It's being.
I mean, The Promised Neverland. The Promised Neverland to me earns what you find beyond the wall as a viewer, whereas this show.
Right. But that's the second season of The Promised Neverland, whereas this is like we're jumping into it from the first season.
That's what I'm saying. I think this is like an isekai because it's just thrusting this character into this world, and it's not giving us anything. It's not giving me anything to sink my teeth into. I don't care about this character at all. I'm not invested.
There's the underwear and the nudity.
Well, that's my point. Like, I laughed at that part, but it wasn't because it was like a character moment. It was just because it was funny. Like, I could have just seen like a clip of that and been like, haha. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not.
You can't sink your teeth into it. It's more like a light snack or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. Out of all the shows I watched for this new season, this was the most painful, and I will not be watching any more of it.
All right, well, go watch Project Scarred next, and then talk to me about.
Well, that's the whole point of this. You already talked me out of that. if you
No, it's really good. I was lying before because I want, I'm one of those those people that wants to like the thing that no one else likes. So I actually really like that show. I just don't want anyone else to like it because then I would like something that everyone else likes, and I'm just not that kind of guy. So you should definitely watch it at your earliest opportunity.
Simplistic and bland, going through the motions. Those are my final words on.
Yeah.
On
I mean, I did compare the main character to Goku, which is I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z, but I watched the original Dragon Ball, and his character is pretty simplistic and bland, and
I mean, I guess that's true. I think he's a lot funnier.
At first, I didn't watch all of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right because I've thought about that too. Goku is kind of like a Mary Sue in the sense that he is like this strong, mysterious character. And when you watch Dragon Ball, the original, you don't even, it doesn't even matter where he came from. It's still a mystery. It's not addressed till Dragon Ball Z.
He's just a kid that grew up with his granddad.
Yeah. But then as you watch it, he does meet people that are stronger than him, and he has to train, and he's not ultimately, he's not all powerful, but he is. But he is in the beginning stronger than he should be.
And then they're like, oh, we should give him some reason to get better, I guess.
Yeah.
They had to push him down a little bit to.
And it might just be he's stronger than he looks, because he's a little kid, and you're not expecting it, so it's element of surprise. But I would appreciate it back Arrow more if it wasn't taking itself so seriously. The underwear thing was funny, but if you take that out, it all seems so serious. This whole war that's going on is there's another show we'll get to coming up that I think did it much better, where it takes.
It's still the first episode. It's still set up they have to create the world. Yeah. They have to, let you know that there's these tribes and they're very serious about things, but then there's the people that live in the village. They're pretty laid back and cool, and then there's this guy that comes in that is just sort of off the wall.
Yeah.
They're sort of showing you that range, that spectrum of characters that are in this show, while setting up the overall worldview, I guess. I don't know. I'm not saying it's great or anything.
You're gonna watch at least the second episode.
I'm just arguing against your statement of how bad it is.
Which is fair. I gave it a D+.
And it is not good, but I don't know that I would say bad.
Okay.
I very much doubt that I gave it a 4. I probably gave it a 5. And having discussed this with you is surprising to me. Because this is not typically a show that I would like. And I think going into it, I knew that I would not like it. And I may have judged it in a better light, expecting less going into it.
I'm coming
the case, right?
And I'm coming from the opposite. Not that I had high hopes, but I was oh, maybe this will be cool, and I was wow, I'm severely disappointed.
Yeah, and in reading the synopsis and looking at the poster art and stuff, it looked like something that I would not like, and so I was surprised that I liked the nudity and underwear humor that was presented, and the overall concept, the sort of sci-fi aspects of it, and I don't know. I am interested in what the wall's about. They sold me on that. Okay. I don't know how, but they did. They sold what's this wall about and what's outside the wall. No one's ever come out from outside the wall before. As far as the people inside the wall know, there is nothing outside the wall. They don't believe that there's anything outside the wall. The wall is God. All of that amounts to, I at least have a modicum of interest in seeing where it goes.
Well, this is good. I like this.
But it could turn south real quick.
This will be one you'll have to keep me posted on.
Oh, you're not gonna watch anymore?
No.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure there'll be some that
I'll let you know.
I'm sure there'll be the reverse too.
So the dungeon only I can enter, I believe, is the English title of this one. Oedake.
Yeah, the hidden dungeon only I can enter.
Haireru, yeah, Haireru. The hidden dungeon only I can enter.
I can only imagine what garbage lies within.
Feels like another sort of isekai, overpowered, character thing.
Some etchiness going on.
That's what it looks like going in. was this one? Maybe a little bit.
I'm just imagining. Like the hidden dungeon.
There was only one thing that was ecchi enough that made me uncomfortable this season, and we haven't gotten to it.
Oh,
Yet.
okay. So it wasn't. That
It,
bad.
it had some, but it wasn't. It wasn't overly ecchi at all. No, it was. There was some unnecessary shots, panning shots. You know the ones I'm talking about.
Yes.
But no,
It's like where the camera is perverted.
Yeah. There was some of that, which is in so many things that you can't dismiss an anime because of that. There are ones that you watch Prison School.
Yeah, but that's explicitly like that's
Right, and those are the ones that I don't like. The ones that are like overtly like this is kind of pervy and we're into it.
If I like the writing, then I'm into it, like Prison School. But if it's a show like I'm thinking of not Vampire Diaries. What is that show called? That's an actual live action show. Rosario Vampire is a show that from
Rosario Dawson.
No, Rosario Vampire is a show from long ago at this
Dawson's
point.
Creek.
Rosario Dawson's Creek. No, it's a show that like where the camera does that, where it like shows you like panty shots and like it's not like part of the story at all, but it like makes you feel perverted. Where like it's not even a theme of the show. It has nothing to do. It's not even like, oh my god, this character was like looking up a skirt. It's like, no, you the viewer were doing it, and it's that where I have a problem with it because I'm like, no, like this. Don't tell me how to feel. But it's not even pertinent to the story.
I see. No, I have seen those that are. The camera is overly aggressive with those shots, and this wasn't one of those. No.
Oh, okay.
This did not have any of that.
Okay.
To my recollection, no, it's about a character who like in your standard isekai, is overpowered for no apparent reason, but he never uses his power because it gives him a headache when he does.
And what's his power?
So then one day he decides, well, I'm going to use my power, even though it gives me a headache, so that I can try and get into this military school or something. He's trying to win some challenge or something. I don't know. He's trying to do something, and he's like, I'm going to use this power that I've never used except this one other time, and it gave me a headache, and I've never used it since because it gave me a headache, because headaches are the worst thing you could ever have, I suppose. Anyway,
not even a migraine.
He uses this power to reveal the location of something that will help him in his quest that he has decided for himself, which is this secret dungeon that no one else knows about, and he knows the way to enter because his power sort of gives him that knowledge, because it is one of those powers that is super overpowered, although he doesn't realize it.
So the power does a lot of things.
The power reveals to him whatever he wants it to reveal, and then gives him a headache. Have I mentioned the headaches yet? All right.
There's a lot of headaches. Is there a headache counter in the show?
God, there should be. No, because there's only two, because he only uses the power. They refer to him having used the power in the past once, and then they show him using it one more time. And then from there, he gets into the secret dungeon and finds this character that has been trapped there for hundreds of years somehow.
And she just happens to be very attractive.
Just happens to be. She gets a lot of panning shots. No, panning, not panties. Anyway. And so he finds this this character who's been trapped for hundreds of years, and she just happens to have a really super strong power as well, and that power is that she can give herself any power, and also she can give any power she has to anyone else, including the power to give themselves a power and to give that power to other people.
Please tell me you're dropping this. Is this one of the four? Come on.
Yeah. I don't think I gave it as adequate a description as I could have, but I think you got the gist of it.
I already would have stopped watching by this point. I don't know how far in the episode we are, but
it's pretty silly. It does a decent job of poking fun at the isekai genre that it is really too rooted in to make fun of, I think.
It's trying to have it both ways, where it can make fun of it, but also be one.
Right.
And I can tell, we're looking at my anime list, it's got 61,000 people interested in it. That's one of the highest we've seen
People like
Through this
isekai.
list.
I mean, not as much overseas as in Japan. Like this is
Can you scroll back?
probably really popular.
Can you scroll back up and compare that to the Promised Neverland second season? Okay, so 105,000 for Cells at Work. That says something. Okay. 163. Oh, 300,000 for Promised Neverland. Okay,
Yeah.
that puts things into
Promised Neverland
context.
is the second or third most
Yeah,
popular,
as it should be,
populous, I suppose is probably the right word. Show this season.
for good reason.
It's pretty high up there. Anyway, I actually don't know if I put this on my drop list. I think I didn't. I think it just barely squeaked by. It probably got a 5, which is like a low C.
I predict you won't watch anymore, but we'll have to wait and see if you have an update.
Yep, I gave it a 5. This one, I'm more likely to watch another one than the one that I previously said I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
It's the humor in it is at least, I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know next week. All right, Horimiya.
Yes, this I did watch.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And I have some notes on it.
I was sort of excited about this one. You know,
it was on my list.
Comedy, romance, like all of the things that I like in an anime.
And it's the only like straight up like romantic comedy that I have seen this season so far. Like I haven't seen everything, but
yeah. So this one I was excited about. I was looking forward to.
You saw the trailer, or you knew about it, the manga, or what?
I read the synopsis. I looked at. Yeah, I don't read a lot of manga, so I hadn't seen the manga at all. But I like to look through all of what's coming this season. Sort of read synopses, watch previews, things
See what
like
you're
that.
most excited about, even
Yeah.
though you're gonna watch all of it.
And this one looked promising, and
I agree.
and I was not as excited about it as I expected I would have been while I was watching it. Like overall it was fine. Like I didn't dislike anything about it, and I will watch more of it, and it could still build and pay off. It just it didn't grab me like I thought that it might.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get that. I was excited.
Full of notes, so
I was excited. I didn't write up. I mean, I wrote a little bit on this. There's a few things I want to talk about that happened in the episode that just I thought were funny or amusing. But no, I liked it. I gave it a B plus. To me, is like approaching an 8. I enjoyed it. I'll be watching it. I'll probably watch all of it. I don't know. Like I like romantic comedies. It kind of reminds me. It reminds me of a few different things, but the thing that stuck out most is Karekano, or His and Her Circumstances. I don't know if you remember that. Which is like really great for like the first 12 or 13 episodes when Hideaki Anno, who directed Evangelion, was directing it, and then he had creative differences with the with whoever, the studio or the mangaka, I'm not really sure, but they ended up kicking him out, or kicking him off the project, and a new director stepped in. And I remember you watching His and Her Circumstances. I told you about it. And I think you had the take that most people have, where it's like, yeah, it was good up until this one point, and then it was just like a different show. And that's,
I don't remember how much of it that I watched, but that sounds about right.
Right, yeah.
It was so good, and then it was just like,
yeah,
okay, this is what we're doing now, and yeah.
And this show,
and that happens with anime even without them changing directors.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I love that director so much, though, and yeah, he's really great. But yeah, and that the first part of His and Her Circumstances is really compelling, and it reminded me of this because you have in His and Her Circumstances, you have a main character, a girl who like leads this perfect life at school, but her secret is that she comes home and it's just a mess. She doesn't wear makeup, and like she's just like, she looks completely different, and she's really self-conscious about that. And she meets this boy who learns her secret, and they start to form a relationship. But at first she's really afraid that, of him, that he's going to expose her. And this wasn't that extreme, but like it had that going on, and it was actually more the guy this time. Yeah. We still have a main lead.
Sort of the deep secret, although he was.
They're kind of both doing it actually to an extent, but just not more like his is more extreme.
Right. Yeah. His hidden secret, I guess, is more extreme, and he's not like the popular guy at school. Like he blends into the shadows to try and help himself hide his secret identity outside of school. Whereas she is,
But he also seems shy or like um, timid too. Like when I remember when that other purple haired classmate was talking to him, like interrogating him about hanging out with the main character. He was like he had certain like they're at school and he had certain like he was like sweating and just really sheepish around him. But
I just thought he was more like blasé about it, like he didn't care. Like it's like I don't know.
yeah, I could see that. I guess it could be taken either way. Like, but yeah. But anyway,
But her character is like I don't think she's like super popular. She's not like the queen of the school or anything like that.
no, a lot of other girls are like, she's so pretty and like, why don't you have a boyfriend and stuff like that. But it's not like she doesn't seem like like she's not.
She's reasonably popular, just sort of normal plus, I guess maybe. I don't really see the huge difference with her outside of that, other than
Well, it's more that they have a moment where at one point. Okay, so I mean, the whole setup is her little brother. She kind of like all her friends go out and do karaoke and stuff, but she kind of goes home after school and she's a really good student. But she like takes care of her brother and her mom works late and she cooks dinner and she gets everything happening. And but when she's home, she just kind of like doesn't do her hair and like just wears like whatever. But at school, she keeps. Up all these appearances of So it's not like a secret, but like she's just like she's got so much else going on outside of school that she can't really deal with. She just lets everything else go of her like appearance, so that she can. I don't know if she's like ashamed of it, but like she eventually meets this classmate of hers who she doesn't recognize. He like her brother like is playing. I know they don't show that, but he's like playing and hurts himself, or a dog is trying to get him or something, and he this.
Yeah, I think her little brother says something about like how he hurt himself. I don't know. He fell off a slide or who knows.
Yeah,
he was playing.
Important.
He was playing at the park or the playground or whatever, and this
and that's something I like about this
young
show.
man is kind enough to bring her brother home when he's injured.
It's one thing I like about this show because in this episode, like a lot, I like when I finish it, like a lot happens. Like they don't really waste a lot of time, and it doesn't feel too rushed to me. But yeah, they cut a lot of fat
Their
out.
relationship, the romance relationship part of it seems kind of rushed. Like it's to me, like it's very much
so.
like you're delivering the setup so far, so we're not really to that point. But once she realizes that this is her classmate.
Yeah, okay, so she meets this guy, right, and she realizes that it's her classmate. But when she sees him, he's got like piercing, like several, like a lot of piercings and like chains, and he wears his hair up, and he doesn't have his glasses on that he normally does. So he looks completely different. Yeah. And this is they start
the guy that the other titular character.
Yes.
That we referenced earlier.
And he is way more ashamed, or at least secretive of his secret.
Seemingly so at school, but when he brings her brother home,
he's like whatever. It's just at school.
He is surprised that she doesn't recognize him.
Yeah, that's true. But I could see that too.
And he's not trying to hide it. Like he doesn't put his hair down to cover the piercings. He doesn't put his glasses back on. He just walks in like full glory of his secret persona.
I hadn't thought about that, but I guess like if like in his perspective, if he really wanted to keep it secret from his classmates, in that situation, he wouldn't have drew attention to it, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't reveal it because at this point, at the point that he brings her brother home to her, they have no relationship. They don't really know each other other than, they're in the same class and they're vaguely aware of each other. Right? So unless he's like making a conscious effort to reveal this side of his persona to her for some reason, which isn't indicated at all.
Yeah.
Why that might be that he chose to do that.
I kind of relate to him. Not that I have like a secret like that, but I mean, as we all do, I put a face on at work and stuff like that.
Yeah, everyone does.
But
I think if you don't.
But I'm the type of person, and this is why I relate to him, because like when he because okay, so like we're saying right with this example, like. Well, he just comes out and says it, but he's kind of like sweet and innocent when like in his behavior. So I see him. I don't know. I don't know if this is like what they're going for, but it's working for me on the first episode. This take on it, but like if he is trying to keep up, he got these tattoos and piercings, but he is kind of a sweet person. He doesn't fit this like stereotype of like being like a jackass or like some sort of rebel punk. That's like gonna fight you or something. Like
Yeah.
the way he
He's a
appears
nice
with all
guy.
this stuff he has, and
Yeah.
he has these crazy tribal tattoos going up his
Which is
his,
revealed later, but
yeah,
yes.
yeah, it gets that. We're spoiling all of this. I mean, if you didn't know that at this point, no one's
Yeah.
listening to this anyway. But
Realistically, anyone listening to this should have watched everything that they want to watch before they listen to it, because if
Yes.
you haven't, then
we'll have to start the show with a
Too bad.
disclaimer. But anyway, what I relate to is that like when this one guy like we get to he starts hanging out with this girl a lot, and there's other things I want to bring up still, but eventually
I mean, it runs through that really fast, like them hanging out and then
That's
then
true.
being questioned as being a couple or something.
yeah,
Basically.
yes, and so
like it's the course of like 2 minutes in the show, I think.
but I guess I'm derailing myself so much here, but I'm going back to what I was originally saying. But like during that, since we're going in order, like during that point, they start hanging out a lot. And you can tell that like they like each other, and they have some of these exchanges where it's like, but they're both kind of sheepish about it, and like she gets really embarrassed. And he's kind of an idiot, but like a lovable one, and he's kind of sweet and kind of innocent, but she doesn't, she's just thinking about like how she feels, and sort of kind of having this like back and forth. But then it gets to a point where she kind of like blurts out like, I don't want anyone else to see you, the way I know you, like how you really are, but then she gets really embarrassed, and she's like, forget I said that, and she like goes to the kitchen or whatever, or kitchen, which is in earshot. And then he, after a beat, like pipes up and pretty much mirrors the sentiment, and for me, it like really sold that like them like having this connection, because like it's not like they've fallen in love and they're gonna be together now, but I don't know, he echoed that same sentiment after thinking about it, and it seemed really heartfelt. And then she was just like started calling him an idiot over and over, whatever, and they turned it into a sort of a gag. But that moment they shared, I don't know, like it did a lot for me.
It's just the setup for that was so rushed. Like I don't remember every beat in the episode. I just remember at some point her sort of being, it's not jealous, but like I guess hurt by the fact that he was like, maybe he said something like, "Oh, no, she's just nobody" or whatever. Like he didn't indicate that they had a relationship or something to someone.
Oh yeah,
else.
that was later after the wasn't that?
Oh, okay. Maybe
I think of what you're thinking, because
Yeah.
after the well, we'll see. So it escalates to the point they're hanging out so much that people at school start noticing,
Yeah.
and then this guy, this purple-haired dude, I don't know his name, but they introduce him early on in the episode, but this is later on after they've been hanging out, and he notices and he confronts Mia, whatever his name is.
Miyamura.
Miyamura. Okay. Miyamada.
Miyamura.
Miyamada. All right. That's helping. Yeah, he confronts Miyamada and is, and I really like that exchange too, because they are high schoolers. Some of these shows like don't handle it so well, I think. Like this to me seemed more realistic of actual high schoolers, and but like he confronts him about it, but the Miyamura is like so sweet about it. He's just like thinking out loud, and he's like, wait, you have a crush on her, and then the other dude gets all embarrassed, and
You're right. I was skipping ahead.
okay. And yeah, the dude gets all embarrassed, but then it kind of just like in the end, Miyamura like basically sets him up. Like he's like
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna ask her out. Is that cool? And he's like, dude, why are you asking me? And like, so he tells him the nature of their relationship. We're just hanging out. And then he says what you were referring to, which we'll get to, of her freaking out. But he says basically I think she's just being nice, and like I don't think there's anything. I don't think it would be a good couple. But that was more just him to me. This is another like how I relate to him, where it was like low self-esteem, where he was like, which seemed really realistic of a high schooler to be like, yeah, you're right, why would she be with me, like she's just being nice.
He's clearly very emo.
Yeah. Yeah, he denies being an otaku but not an emo.
Yeah. tattoos, the piercings, and everything. Like he's supposed to be an emo character.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, which is yeah, but it's not like I don't know, like it's not like super cliched. I don't know. I like him as a character. I think he's
He's a
sweet
likable character.
and like
He's
there.
got some depth to him, and he's yeah.
He's relatable, like in his way. Like he's not a self-insert character, and he has
Yes.
there's some writing going on there. I like the show. Oh yeah, so okay, sorry, we're not rounding up yet. But Miyamura like totally sets it up. He's like the guy asks if hey I want to talk to you after school, and then she's like what, and then Miyamura's like hey I'll pick up your little brother. Don't worry, like
Right.
we hang out all the time. Like I got your back. But when she eventually comes back home, she confronts him about this is what you were bringing up.
Right, about the fact that he had told this other guy, like, yeah, there's like nothing, go ahead, like, she's not special to me in any way or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then she sort of freaks out on him.
Which is bullshit that this other guy like brought that up. Like you were just supposed to ask her out, dude. Like what the fuck?
I guess. But,
I mean, it makes sense for a high schooler where they divulge way too much, or like, well, I know you're not with him. Like,
I don't know. I don't actually remember exactly how much of the conversation they got into, but it seemed to me more like a situation where it became obvious to her during the course of the conversation between her and this other boy that Miyamura had sort of set this in motion. Like that's why he agreed to that. And yeah, I mean, I guess the other boy did sort of throw him under the bus a little bit.
yeah,
But here's the thing: prior to her like sort of overreacting, I think to that, I had basically no indication that she was interested in him, like,
Really?
romantically.
really.
Like they seemed like they had this sort of friendship, platonic thing going on, which I think is sort of how Miyamura felt about her, which is why he was just so
I
like.
think so.
you
He's
know,
got sort of this oblivious
like,
thing.
I don't
going
think
on,
I don't.
or-
I felt like he wasn't that into her, but she was like into him a lot more, and I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, but I didn't really get that until that happened. I
Oh,
guess is
really?
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. See, I got it.
I thought they were just very platonic friendship. Like they got
Mm.
along well, and it was weird because they were sort of in different cliques in the school,
Yeah.
and so that's why it was being the subject of discussion amongst classmates is because he's this weirdo that never talks to anyone, and
Yeah.
she's like a normal friendly person.
Pretty much. I don't think it was like. I actually kind of like how they presented it because it didn't seem like what she's with him. It wasn't. It was
Right.
just like, well, that's weird. It was just kind of like she doesn't
It's
usually
weird
talk
that
to
they're
him.
talking.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, but it wasn't like a judgment necessarily.
And then
like,
they said the same thing though when he was talking to the other boy. Like,
yes,
that's weird
yeah,
they're
that's where you're
talking
talking.
Even it's weird that he talks to anyone because he doesn't talk to anyone.
Well, and that's one of the things I wrote down, which is at the very end. So I guess we're maybe not there yet, but I hear you. For me, I got it in that earlier scene that I was talking about when she kind of blurted out like I don't want anyone to see you, how I see you, and then he returned that sentiment, and then she got even more embarrassed. But it was like a still like
I didn't even see it romantic. I knew
okay.
I knew it was a romance.
Well, yeah, it was there.
So I maybe should have seen it earlier than I did, but at that point
okay.
it just hadn't been like strongly indicated to me, other than knowing it was a romance show. Like it was obvious that they were going to develop a romantic relationship. I just didn't realize that either of them had any romantic feelings, even at that point. Even when them saying, "I don't want anyone else to see you."
Yes. Yeah.
The way I see you.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's a good example too, because I feel like I want more of the romance, and I wrote that down. It has potential to me to deliver on that,
I
but
believe you're going to get more of it. Yeah.
but this
They
episode,
rushed through it.
this
pretty quick
episode
to get into it.
I do believe this episode undercut some of the romance with the comedy. Like in that scene that I'm referring to, where I was like it got me. I was like, all right, like the romantic part of it between them, where I was sold on it. they immediately undercut it with the whole Baka thing. It's like, oh yeah, whenever she says Baka, she has to say it like a bunch of times. But then she ends up
Her
saying,
little brother says, yeah, once she says it, she can't stop saying it.
yeah,
Right?
and then they like watch her say it, which was funny.
Baka, baka, baka,
But then
baka,
later in the
baka.
episode, she says Baka, and they don't do that, which I'm glad because it was at certain times where it would have like kind of cheapened what was happening. But at the same time, it's like, well, why do it in the first place? Like, you should have just let that linger, I think, and like be like a moment instead of like immediate joke. And it kind of did that a couple times. I can't remember other examples, but I can remember feeling like this is leaning on the comedy a little too much. Like I want it to go more in the romance way, and just the way it's stylized. Like, because I can think of other romantic comedies like My Love Story. Remember that show? I don't know if you got into it.
Yeah,
but that's
I don't think I watched much of it.
that's a show that's really sweet, but the art style lends itself to the comedy, like the comedy being emphasized more. Like the romance is still there, but you don't expect it to go to this like really like romantic, dramatic like place. And sometimes it kind of flirts with it, and it's kind of fun because you don't expect it, right? But with this show, at least with this first episode, and you're probably right. It's probably going to go into it, but I got kind of a little worried when they kind of did a little too much comedy.
I felt like this episode they rushed the romance real hard because what they want to get into is the actual romance. So they like the early parts of the romance, the formation of their relationship, and like them developing feelings for each other is all like a pretty short period in this episode. Like there's a fair amount of setup, and then there's them meeting with him, displaying his outside of school self.
Yeah.
And then it is probably like 5 or 6 minutes before we're just suddenly like she's yelling at him for denying that he had feelings for her, essentially.
Ooh, I think it's longer than that. I don't know.
It felt really rushed to me.
Okay.
Is like they sort of skipped through that and they just said, "Oh yeah, these two they like each other." By the way, that's what we're going to do for the rest of the season.
Okay.
I don't know.
We have different takes on that, but I it's like for me it could have been better. So maybe it's just view it a little differently. But we're similarly like I gave it a B.
Why does she like him? Like
I think it's because.
What characteristics did he display that she liked, that she like latched onto to feel that strongly about him within the short amount of time?
I do think it's because how sweet and endearing he is, because like with all her other friends, it's like, oh, let's go do karaoke and like let's do this, let's do that. But like she has all this stuff to do. She has to take care of her mom. We haven't even seen the mom yet, and that might just be a thing. I don't know. But she clearly works like a lot and works late hours.
But he's cool just hanging out with her while she watches her brother, sort of thing.
He's essentially like part of the family, and he I think is showing that like he just likes being around her, and I think that's like something she hasn't experienced. Like that's how I took it, where it's like maybe it's not that it's him, but he is so sweet and like kind of mild mannered that like he just like sticks around. Because I think in that one scene where like she blurts that out and is like, I don't want anyone to see you like I see you or whatever. I think he didn't. I think that's when he realized she liked him or was like had an inkling. I think before that he's completely oblivious because she had said some other things that just went over his head. I can't remember exactly, but there was like at least one other thing where she was like, oh, I like like complimented him like kind of. In a weird way that should have stood out, but that's how I take his character. And maybe I'm misreading that and like it'll be betrayed, but only time will tell. But like that he's like oblivious and very just sweet and mild mannered, despite his like appearance of all these chains and earrings and stuff he's got going on.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe the thing that they're leaning on too much is him being, this rebellious sort of societal separatist sort of, separate from society sort of guy.
Yeah. Well, it's like they're like doing it so like he's viewed that way, but that's not who he really is. And so But I
Right,
guess they're both kind of misunderstood because she's putting on this front of being like this like stellar student who is popular and like maybe not the most popular girl in school or whatever, but like
but she is a stellar student and she's popular.
yeah, but she
It's
puts
not really
on
a front.
I mean when she's at I don't know, it's because she spent her real life is actually at home like taking care of her brother and like cooking meals and like making everything happen because her mom's at work and now he's a part of that. And so I don't know. That's where I was getting his and her circumstances vibes.
Mm. I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I felt like the romance was rushed because that's just what they want to do for the rest of the season is explore the romance that they have created but not developed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we differ a little on that one. I gave it a B plus,
B plus.
which would probably be approaching approaching an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to unlock my phone again, and then I have to find it in my list, which is not
What do you mean?
any sort of correct order. It was one of the later ones I watched. Oh, there it is. I gave it a 6. It's
Okay.
it's fine.
And that's another interesting one that you were
It could definitely. So yeah. So
you were
there's,
excited about it.
So it's weird. Like the 6s. The 6 is like sort of the default rating for something that like just isn't not good. Because there are things that I've said before, I gave a 6, but I had low expectations for, and they exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
So they got a 6 because they got a little bump up. Whereas this, I was excited for, and I was not super excited about after I watched it.
It didn't necessarily deliver on your expectations.
But it's not like I'm going to drop it. It's not like it was bad or
Yes.
anything like that. It's fine.
Yeah.
And it's fine to watch at least another episode. And it's really early to be rating anything.
Oh, for sure.
Really, I think like for me, everything's sort of in the middle. Like there's a 7 is outstanding. A 3 is insanely bad. So there's been a 3. There's been a couple of 7s. I don't think I go outside of that range. Like a 3 is like in the first episode.
I gave something a 9.
Yeah? Well, you smoke crack, sir.
But no, I agree. I agree that one episode is not much to gauge on.
How do you give anything a 9? It's on the first episode. I don't understand.
Well, as I was saying earlier, I could never give it 10.
I guess we'll get to that.
I could never give it 10, but
I guess we'll get to that, and you can explain it at that time. But
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The Doctor of Strange Afflictions, Ramune. I don't remember what the English title is, but it's something like that.
yeah, I remember. I was like, what the title? I couldn't remember it exactly, but the title was like, interesting. But I didn't watch it. Dr. Ramune, Mysterious Disease Specialist.
All right. It's essentially what I said, just in different words. All right.
Did you watch it?
I did watch this.
Okay.
Yes.
And
This is actually one of the more recent ones I watched. I think I watched it 2 days ago. It was everything that I expected it to be, which was, pretty mediocre, but amusing. What can I say about it?
what's the main premise?
The main premise is there's this Dr. Ramune, who's ostensibly a teenager, I guess, who is a doctor somehow. But he's not like a real doctor, he's just a doctor of strange afflictions. So in the first episode, we meet this girl who's a TV star who can sort of, cry on cue, as, someone who's on TV would be required to do. But she's also a teenager, possibly even a middle schooler, who's been sort of pushed into this life by her mother, and I'm trying to explain the reason why this affliction happens to her before explaining the affliction. Why don't I just get into that? There's this girl who's a TV actress, and she one day starts crying mayonnaise.
So that's the strange affliction.
that is the strange affliction. And then she goes to like different hospitals and she's like, no, I'm an actress. I have to be able to cry on TV, you know, like that's my job. That's what I do.
You can't cry mayonnaise.
And
unless I do porn.
And then she's coming out of some doctor's office or a hospital or something like that her mother sent her to get fixed for her mayonnaise affliction. And she happens to run into, I don't remember if it's Dr. Ramane or his assistant. It's probably his assistant, who then brings her to this pseudo doctor, who specializes in, I guess, yokai curses sort of thing. Not really curses, but yokai sort of stuff in general, spiritual sort of afflictions and things like that. And so he sort of delves into like why this is happening to her and gives her a pseudo cure, which isn't actually a cure for the thing. It's just, I mean, it is actually more of a cure. I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to remain spoiler free. Not that I necessarily need to.
Well, I mean, you're thinking like a Curse of the Week kind of show where it's like.
Yes.
Is it like.
So it
is it trying to be
particular regard gave me like Bakemonogatari sort of vibes.
Oh,
like it's there's, but it's, you know, so Bakemonogatari, there were arcs, and all of the arcs were different afflictions, and they were much more involved. This seems like, yes, a Curse of the Week sort of thing. Like week 1, the girl who cried mayonnaise. Week 2, who knows, right?
We'll find out.
She cries more than mayonnaise, by the way. There's also, you know, she said that she's cried. Well, in the episode, she cries soy sauce. Show you. She has said, you know, a number of other condiments that she has cried.
Some salsa.
She's just a girl that cries condiments for some reason. And it's all because she, you know, is angry that her mother has sort of forced her into this life of acting, and now her mother's no longer acting like a mother, but more of a manager. And his cure is to give her a tea that makes her speak the truth, and then she says all sorts of horrible things to her mother and makes her more angry, and everything seems like it's getting worse. But then suddenly everything's fixed.
Is it more comedic or dramatic?
I mean, it's a handful of each.
Yeah.
It is probably slightly more comedic.
Okay.
The subject matter,
but
obviously, based on the description I gave you, is like dramatic subject, but he's a comedy character. Basically he's the comedy character. I think even his assistant, sidekick, whatever you want to call him, he's a pretty serious, straight-faced guy.
He looks pretty lax.
Yes, Dr. Ramane himself looks pretty lax.
All right. I mean, are they? Is it similar to like Cells at Work or Heavenly Designs Team, where there's actual scientific facts or trivia or anything?
No, it's all spiritual.
Okay, just I
was gonna say BS, but I was thinking there might be a better word for that.
Pseudo science. I don't know.
I mean, it's not even pseudoscience. It's
they're just making shit.
It's very spiritual nonsense.
Okay.
Hokum, snake oil, what have you. Yeah.
Okay. Pure fantasy.
But it's mildly amusing. It's not bad for what it is. If you're into that sort of thing, then it's probably a thing that you'll like.
There you go. You heard it here first.
I'll probably watch another episode just to see where it goes.
Okay.
Even though I know where it's probably going, and I'll probably drop it after the second episode. Good or bad, I mean, it's probably not going to be bad. It's probably going to be the same thing, essentially, or on the same level as the first episode, which was decent. You know, it was fine. It's just not a show that I am terribly interested in getting into.
Fair enough. So we'll probably get cut.
It could take a wild turn that just like hooks me somehow. I don't see that happening. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with these shows, the shoe hasn't dropped yet.
You never know, right? Yeah. All right, Kemono Jihen.
Kemono Jihen. I mean, I don't know. All right. I will watch more. I gave it a C. I'll just.
Also, we're just gonna start with that up front.
I don't know how else to start with this one.
I also will watch more. I think I probably gave it a 6. If you wait while I unlock my phone.
I was kind of annoyed with some things, but I thought it looked good, and I like the you get into some like of the action scenes were nice. They looked nice, and
I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I gave it a C. So I mean that's a
I think I had
Yeah.
I think I had higher hopes for this than it paid off, but it feels like it's going in the direction
yeah.
that I was hoping for. Yeah, so I gave it a sort of optimistic 7 at this point.
It left me more, and I almost don't even want to go into what this episode was about. I mean, we can, but like, it left me wanting more at the end. But most of this first episode seemed pointless to me. Like, you could have just set up like this kid's backstory, like with like in like 3 minutes. Like you didn't need to spend the whole episode because like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like his whole village and every I don't know if we should set up what actually happens in it.
I mean, we've spoiled everything else we've talked about, so just go for it.
I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but anyway.
I got like 23 minutes.
This paranormal investigator shows up to this small town, and he's from big old Tokyo, and they're like, "Oh boy!" And there's all these kids like excited about it. And I'm just gonna spoil it. Like he has been hired to kill this kid who
Well, that's more spoilers than I was thinking we were going to go into.
Yes, I'm entirely spoiling it
That
because
is
and here's my reason, because I mean maybe I'll be proven wrong, and like I'll be ridiculed for years to come, but I don't think any of that is important. I think it was just getting us to where the second episode is going to pick
so
up.
it's story, sort of backstory for the main investigator guy, and sort of some character revelations about him, and also a fair amount of like character setup and development for the boy, who I assume is going to be a series regular, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess if they would have like set up the what he was like supposedly there to investigate and to start with, all these animals that were being eaten and stuff, that wasn't revealed.
Oh, they set that up really quick, I thought.
Well, they like told us, but like I don't know. Like I think it'd be cool to like open with more like actually I don't know. I just felt like this village wasn't really lived in. Like I didn't and I like this show. I want to watch more, and I'm hoping it, delivers on something. But yeah, I don't know. I was just like the reveals to me were like, like I just spoiled everything. But originally you think
you skipped the whole episode and just dumped it.
Originally you think he's there to investigate. He's a paranormal investigator to start, which is like okay, like what is it, the X-Files? And then
yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is actually. And
Yeah,
you love
okay.
that show, so
yeah, well, big shoes to fill. Okay, and then it's like, all right, these animals are being eaten, but then that's a foil. He never looks into that. He immediately knows,
I mean, he sort of pseudo looks into that. Like they go out and they investigate, but he.
Well, even when he first got there, he was taking a bath or whatever, and that one boy was helping him, but he was like, no, I want the other kid, like a creep, right? Before we
It was a
know
little
why.
creepy, yeah.
And I was already thinking, like, why is
I
he
want
just
the dirty kid that smells bad.
yeah? And then we find out later, like I already spoiled, that like he's been hired to kill this kid, so of course he drew him near. But like he found.
But when that's revealed.
All I'm saying is the only investigating he did of the animals was by talking to that kid. He told him about it.
Right, but when that's revealed, that's sort of an oversimplification of why he was there. Was that really why he was told, like, come here and kill this kid?
When he said,
I doubt very much that
but when
he would
he's-
have come to do that if that's what he was hired to do.
when he said that,
He was hired to investigate this paranormal thing that was happening. But then when he got to town and he talked to the aunt
Oh,
who
you
was
think
taking
so?
care of Stinky Kid, who worked in the fields, they said it, like, I think very directly, matter-of-factly in the episode. When he got to town, she said, there's these animals that have been being killed. This is this kid's whole backstory. And I think he's responsible, so I want you to kill him. So prior to coming to town, he didn't know that. But when he got there, yes, he knew.
I didn't take it that way.
I think they very
But why would
matter-of-factly
he
said
just
that in the
like?
episode.
But see, this is where I take issue with that, because it's like, why would he go there just to investigate, and then some lady, I'm guessing, is paying him, right, to kill this kid? Like, why else would he do it? But then he's like, I'm here to investigate. But then, oh, okay, I'll kill this kid. Why not?
I mean, they don't reveal the actual content of the conversation that they had.
Yeah.
It's just sort of more of him saying, like, this is the gist of the
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, that's why I think he was actually hired by this lady to.
I'm pretty sure it is said explicitly that he was hired to come to town to investigate this. And when he got there, he talked to the aunt, and the aunt said, this is this kid's backstory. He's, half yokai or whatever the fuck it is. And he's probably responsible for it. I want you to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's almost explicitly said in the episode that that's what happened.
I mean, I guess it's semantics because
And I say almost explicitly because I don't know if it was actually explicitly said.
I don't think it was. I mean, when he so basically, because we haven't explained this yet either, but he revealed, and I was kind of annoyed with this too. But I like the show. I'm not trying to completely shit on it, but he kind of just
interested to see where it goes.
He kind of just dumps all this on him, like, oh, you're a demon or whatever he is. I forget. It's like, and you can't be killed. Normally. We gotta chop your head off, essentially.
Well, he doesn't say that directly in relation to him. He says there are these demons that are in the forest.
But he tells him
and the
that
only way
he's
to kill
one
them
at a certain point.
Well, there's no way to kill them, but you can chop their head off and it'll slow them down for a while.
Yeah.
And he also separately tells him, you're sort of one of these demons.
Yes. So he doesn't tell him.
But he doesn't tell him those two things together, which you just conflated together.
But it's heavily implied.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious, especially when it's revealed that the other young boy pushed this stinky kid down and killed him.
And he didn't.
And then he just suddenly showed up for dinner.
Yeah. So he ends up shooting the kid in the head, and the kid asked for it too. He's like, "Kill me."
Okay, yeah, you're sort of burying the lead there. So he's explaining to this kid about his background, like where he's from and stuff like that. And at some point asked, would you like to meet your real parents? And the kid's like, I don't really care, man. He's a tough kid, whatever. And then when the yokai hunter guy reveals that he's actually, been told he needs to kill this kid, he says to the kid, I'm going to ask you again, do you want to meet your parents or should I kill you, basically? And the kid says, it's kind of a poignant moment in the show, right? Don't you think? Sort of
I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
Oh, you don't remember this part. Wow. Okay.
I think I do, but it seems like you're going to say something different, so I'm waiting.
No. The kid says, "No, just kill me."
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Meaning that he's not really interested in all this crap that this yokai hunter and monster hunter guy has told him. He just wants to die.
Yeah.
Even though I think he kind of knows that he can't die, but he thinks maybe this monster.
Well, he acts surprised later, but
I think he thinks this monster hunter, because he's a monster hunter, can kill him or knows a way to kill him. Anyway, so yeah, monster hunter guy shoots him in the head, and then.
But then he takes his body while he appears dead.
Takes his body and says he's
his
gonna go.
aunt.
Says he's gonna go bury it. Right.
Yes.
Takes it to the aunt and says, "I did what you asked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go bury him out in the forest. No one will ever find him." Something like that. And then and then the kid wakes up in the back seat of the guy's car on his way to Tokyo.
I mean, I guess I could see, like, to what you were saying about, like, that he didn't know they wanted him to kill this kid when, he was on his way there, and they told him when he got there.
I don't think it's really important to, like, the show, whether, which way you view it, whether you view it the way that you saw it, or whether you view it the way that I saw it. I don't know how really important it is, but I think it establishes, some character for the main guy. I don't think he's a bad guy.
I think it's just going to get summed up.
I don't think he's the kind of guy that would, get a call in Tokyo. Hey, I want you to come kill a kid. All right, I'll be right there.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that. I mean, but I just think it could have been his back. This is essentially his backstory. This kid, right?
Mostly backstory for the kid and a little bit of introduction to the monster hunter guy.
But I still think all of that, both those things, could have been summed up in like 3 to 5 minutes. Like, very quickly.
Yeah, what you want an 11-episode season?
That's all I'm saying, man. I that's my criticism of it. That's what I wanted to get across. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I gave it a C.
It was slow moving, but it was also, just slowly developing this world, because this is a world where there's these monstery sort of things that look like any other monster in any other sort of show like this.
Yeah.
But they don't know that you've seen that before, so they have to sort of introduce the world and set it up and say, these are the kind of monsters that exist in this
world. And the monster reveals were cool, and like the fights and stuff. Like, I was into that. Some nice dynamic animation going on.
It was pretty rapidly paced on some of the things like, oh, we need to go find your little brother or whatever, the other kid, the non-monster kid. Because he doesn't know about these monsters that I've just told you about literally seconds ago.
Yeah.
So let's go out there rushed. And then, oh no, there's monsters. And oh, by the way, you can't kill them, but you can cut their heads off and it'll slow them down. Oh, hey, do you want me to kill you or do you want to meet your parents? Oh, you want to die? Okay, I'll shoot you in the head. Oh, look, you're alive. Like it all happens really sort of rapid fire towards the end of the episode. The beginning of the episode is pretty slow paced, but it's just sort of I don't know. I think they're trying to gradually ease in and ramp up to the more,
I have hopes it'll get better.
Parts, I guess. That's another one of those that I think is probably very episodic. So next week is going to be, at the very end of the episode, we're shown a couple of other children.
Yes.
That come into Monster Hunter Dude's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that he's done before. Rescuing children.
Yeah, and he's got an entourage, and they're gonna go on adventures. And I'm
in for it.
And
they're gonna hunt monsters because he's a monster hunter, and that's what he does. I keep saying monsters, but they're whatever you want to call them.
Demons.
Sure, demons. I think maybe that is actually the.
Yeah.
I kept saying yokai. I know that yokai was referenced in the episode. I think.
I wrote here, I was like, despite some intriguing monster designs and brief action scenes, the show seems to be more of a sitcom at heart. That's what I'm expecting.
Oh, really?
With some action, but I'm okay with that.
I think there's comic relief, but I think it might be more action oriented than what that your sentence implies.
I hope it gets funnier if it's gonna rely on the comedy, because I didn't laugh. I don't think I laughed during this episode.
I think the comic relief is there just to ease up the drama, which it seems like it wants to be,
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
It had a pretty serious tone throughout, other than the mild comic relief here and there, right?
That's true, yeah. I'm curious. I don't have high hopes, but I want to see where it goes. Okay. So now we go to Skate the Infinity.
That's not an 8. That's an 8 on its side, which is the infinity symbol. So the name of the show is Skinfinity, despite what anyone tells me.
On Funimation, they call it Skate the Infinity.
Yeah.
So that's what I wrote down. I actually even drew a cool infinity sign. Ellipses.
Ouroboros? No, because that's just a circle, right?
Yeah,
whatever.
But same idea.
Same idea. Yeah.
I'll take it. There's probably a name for the infinity sign, but.
So, who here watched it? Raise your hand.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it, but also disappointed in ways that I didn't expect. But you have notes. Go ahead.
I like this show. I was unsure at first because I had kind of high hopes because it looked fun. It's a skateboarding show, if anyone doesn't know. And we open with this main character, skateboarder, red-haired guy, and the show looks really slick. It looks nice, got nice color design. But it didn't really grab me until this transfer student shows up, Canadian transfer student. And once he and the red-haired guy start interacting,
I forgot it was Canadian.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, but now that you say it, it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
I know. I literally wrote just as a note the Canadian transfer student.
Yeah, he's half Japanese or whatever, right?
I guess so.
I think they said it. I think they said his mother's Japanese. Or
Yeah.
something like that. But
And I was
he grew up in Canada, I think.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that because I was confused because like he's like had a part-time job set up, but the guy was like, "Oh, I can't. Sorry, man.
Well, I mean,
You came all the way here, and I can't
he
hire
was
you."
looking for a job. He was
Yeah.
going for like an interview for this part-time job. Yeah.
Guess, but it seemed like he had contacted this business owner like ahead of time or something because he was like, "Oh man, you traveled all the way here," and it just seemed like they had talked before, like had some like.
I mean, I don't think he thought he
communication.
traveled all the way there from Canada.
Well, they had just moved, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, he was saying you came all the way here from Shinjuku or wherever.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oh,
He
okay.
came halfway across Tokyo. I don't think he meant all the way from Canada.
I just
That'd be a
assumed they
long
moved
way
from
to go.
Canada.
That'd be a long way to go for a part-time job.
No, I thought. Well, maybe I just misunderstood, but I thought his family were moving from Canada and had just moved there, and before, in anticipation
Before
of moving,
they had moved.
he was looking for
Yeah.
a job, and he had kind of like emailed or
I mean,
something.
could be. I
That,
didn't
that's
get
how
that
I
impression. I got more of an impression of like they had moved. He had just got there. He called this place up because they
Oh, okay.
put an ad out. For it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the guy just seemed more
Doesn't-
more apologetic than just he had just applied. It seemed like they had like kind of an arrangement,
He seems like that kind of guy, though.
maybe, and he comes up later.
Yeah.
But so anyway, and then it's after he gets rejected that he meets the red-haired kid, and that's when I kind of like became more interested
The redheaded
because
kid. What's his name?
yeah, I didn't write it down. I didn't write down either of their names, but
Reki?
Reki, yeah, that is
High
right.
school sophomore and skater. Yeah, that must
Yeah,
have been.
yeah, and then Longa is the
Oh,
transfer
yeah,
student.
that's his name. Canada guy.
Canada guy. But yeah, I like this show because it has really cool animation. If anyone who saw the trailer knows, but it's not taking itself too seriously. That's what I like about it because it has kind of what I would consider a weak inciting incident, which I think we can reveal, which is basically.
Is there an inciting incident? Oh, I don't know actually.
To me, it's when this transfer student Longa and Reki start hanging out, and Reki works at a skateboard shop, and he tells them all about this secret skateboard race that they do, and you have to be invited to it. And
right. I know that.
and Longa needs a job, and so he's gonna take the skateboard to this other skateboarder who needs it like right before the
He's
race.
going to deliver a skateboard.
Yeah.
From the skate shop
Yes.
that Reki works at.
But for some reason, the shop owner refused to hire Reki for it because he had been injured in a recent skateboarding race.
Yeah, his arm was damaged.
But then Reki ends up going with Longa to do it
Skateboard.
anyway.
Yeah.
And the inciting incident to me is that Reki in a rush grabs the wrong skateboard, right? And so then Longa, doesn't have to do it, but he takes it upon himself to skate, and then it is revealed that he is.
Why does he feel compelled to skate?
I mean,
Because Reki took the wrong board.
essentially, yeah. He just he feels bad. I think I don't know. It was his job.
So Reki grabs the wrong board, and they end up delivering the wrong board to the person who had ordered the board at this race, and this person had wanted to use the board in the race.
Yeah.
And then he gets really irate, and then this clown makeup wearing guy, who's like the big bad of the show, says, "Oh, now you gotta race me," or something to the guy that got the wrong board delivered for some reason. Not sure exactly why.
And why would you just have the board, the only board you can use, be delivered right before the race starts? Anyway.
It's a really complicated board, apparently.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any other boards as
all
a
the way to
backup.
West. Yeah, of course not. No, why would he? I mean, he was kind of a poser anyway. Actually.
Yeah,
But
he sucked. So yes, you're right. The heavy comes in.
right, and says, "Oh, you gotta race me," and then Reki says, "Oh, I could race you, except my arm's broken from this thing that happened earlier in the episode that we barely saw." And
this board, I can't use this board.
And then meanwhile, Longa is duct taping the skateboard to his feet.
Yes.
And he's like, "I'll race him." Like this guy who, moments earlier in the show, stood on a skateboard for the first time and fell on his face. you know, as one does the first time they stand up.
Yeah.
And yeah, now he's challenging this clown makeup big bad.
And inexplicably too, like he's
for really no reason. Yeah.
He's not prompted to.
Yeah.
And the race isn't even starting yet.
Yeah.
Like he just does it, which I guess is a part of his character, I suppose. But I enjoyed how silly it was, and everything that ensues after that is pretty. Like I was laughing out loud during the climax of that episode. You know, part of the race. I don't know. I spoiled everything so far now.
And
and
he's like grinding down girders and shit. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, he does all that, but then he like he's getting ready to like do this jump after this crazy like drop maneuver he did, and over this big like kind of like gap, and the guy the guy with the face paint or whatever, Punk Heavy, throws up these explosives, and he just like he like skates over them and does like this flip, and everyone, there's like triple takes of it as everyone sees it and like reacts to it, and it was like equal parts like, oh my god, badass, and just like super cheesy, and it really struck me as quality content. It's hilarious. I don't know if I was supposed to be laughing during that, but it was hilarious.
Not sure you were. All right, so you sort of launched into your impression of it, and then full-on description. And I interrupted you a few times, but my initial impression of this was that I didn't want to watch it for multiple reasons. One, it looks like a shonen, you know, sports bullcrap sort of thing. And two, it's about skateboarding, which I like skateboarding. I used to own a skateboarding shop years ago. And I was worried that it would, you know, not represent skateboarding well. As it turns out, it doesn't represent skateboarding well. It's really pretty silly the way they represent it. But overall, I was kind of okay with it. It was amusing enough, and it was, I mean, it definitely had a lot of those shonen sports anime vibe stuff to it. It didn't rely heavily on the sports, like, oh, I'm gonna do my best, although there was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
At least from the Canadian character. He was like the strong silent type. Like he was the background.
And
it's the other kid, Reiki, who was kind of an obnoxious
yes.
twerp.
I 100% agree.
And yeah, the big finish there, like it was a bunch of like, oh look, he's skateboarding, you know. You didn't really say this, but it's revealed that this Longa character from Canada was a world-class snowboarder or something, I guess, although he never stepped on a skateboard before.
Yeah.
And so that's why he was taping the skateboard to his feet, so it would be like a snowboard. And then he just uses all of his snowboarding skills to become the best skateboarder in all of Japan, as far as I can tell from this episode.
So that's like, another part I laughed. That reveal, I laughed my ass off as well.
It's a bit more of the Mary Sue character that we hate.
That's true.
He's pretty much a Mary Sue,
but they're playing
the fact that he's a strong silent type kind of takes away from that, because he's not like overly rambunctious about it. He's like, you know, he's not like I'm gonna beat everyone. You know, he's not that into it. He's just like, yeah, I'll do this, I guess, and then he's just super OP at it.
And to me, I think it's totally tongue in cheek. Like that's how I took it, where they're like they're having fun, but they're making fun of themselves at the same time. To me, where it's like that whole snowboard reveal. I think you are supposed to laugh during that, where it's like, oh my god, he's a snowboarder. Like
of course he is. He's from Canada.
And there's even a part after that where he's like, oh, I forgot I have wheels on this thing.
Well, because he tries to. So that part made sense from like the snowboarding perspective.
Well, yes, yeah,
because he's trying to take a corner like really sharp, and on a snowboard you're like leaning way up onto the lip of the board. On a skateboard you can't do that because you have wheels. You know?
Yes. No, it totally makes sense. But they were just driving home that reveal, which to me is not only like makes sense. You know, it makes sense in context of what's happening, but it's also just ridiculous that it's hilarious. It's one of
So
those
I'd
things.
like to
where-
ask: has anyone ever seen a skateboarding competition? I've seen several in my life.
Yeah, I mean, not in person, but
How many have you seen where it just involved going down a steep hill really fast? Oh, none. That's because that's not what skateboarding is. That's like it's downhill luge basically. You know, it's like stand up luge. I don't know. Like in the 1970s, downhill used to be a thing in skateboarding. But since boards have gotten wider and more flexible, and you know, like have curves at both ends, so you can jump and things, that's not what skateboarding is anymore. It's mostly like half pipe or skate parks or
yeah,
downhill.
it's anime, man. They gotta take it to the extreme.
And if they were downhill, those aren't the boards that they would be riding. Those are like park boards. Those are like street boards. Those are not downhill boards. Anyway, all right. Sorry,
Enough
I
skate
preempted it by saying that I used to own a skate shop and I was really into skateboarding, and I would just like to.
You should have been an advisor on this show.
Someone should have been. Like, oh, we'll do skateboarding. Oh, I watched this movie in the 1970s once about skateboarding. They all like went downhill really fast. Isn't that what they do on snowboards? We got a show. Super easy.
Well, we'll
Barely
see.
an inconvenience.
I'll let you know where it goes because I'll be watching more.
I may watch another episode. I can't expect that I will watch more than that, though.
Which is fair. I'm surprised you watched it at all, honestly.
It looked better than the other skate anime,
That's true.
which was the ice skating one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the same kind of. So, like, yeah, I am into skateboarding. I like skateboarding. I haven't actually stepped on a skateboard in a couple of years, but I like the sport of it. So
I think there was some cool some cool animation. Like he was like flipping the skateboard around and jumping on it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was all sort of.
Yeah, I thought it was cool, but I have a different
Yeah, well, like
perspective.
yeah. So there's a scene at the beginning where I guess he just ollies over the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the snowboarder guy, the Canadian guy.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, how'd you do that? You know, like it's some awesome trick or something.
Well, he doesn't skateboard.
I know, but it's they made a big deal of it when it. I don't know.
No, I mean I know what you mean. Yeah, he was like, "Oh my god."
So they
I do like the look
largely
of it.
misrepresent skateboarding as a sport because almost everything that they do in this show has nothing to do with the sport of skateboarding. But ollieing is one of the few things that in fact does actually, yeah, or kickflip, which I think you were referring to. Yeah. Grinding, he did some grinding on those girders.
Well, that big jump he does some
the-
sort of move. I don't know what it's called. I used to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but it was a long
Yes.
time ago.
I'm not 100% sure what.
Because
that
he's
would be
he's
considered.
rotating or revolving around.
I mean, right, but
doing some sort of position. But he's also duct taped to the board. So
right, and that's what I was gonna say was the fact that he grabs the board as he's doing that.
Yeah, like you would a
For
snowboard.
no reason because it's taped to his feet.
Yeah,
Like you would a skateboard if you were doing that move. But
yeah.
with a snowboard, I guess they do.
Yeah, they
grab,
do grab it,
I guess they do grab it, but that's more for show than anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
which isn't
Because it's literally attached to
skateboarding
their
does
feet.
it for show too, right? I mean,
No,
some of the stuff.
No, you have to hold it. I mean, it's not attached to your feet, so if you do that, the skateboard could actually move away from your feet. You pretty much want to hold it there so that it's under your
Well,
feet.
yeah.
So that when you land, you're.
I see. I
landing
see what
on
you
the
mean.
skateboard.
I see what you mean. No, I get it.
Because if you don't land on the skateboard, you're gonna fall down.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Have you ever ridden a skateboard, George?
Nope.
Really?
All right, moving
Never?
on. Well, I mean, I've looked at one.
Like sit on your butt, and, like downhill. You know?
Yeah, he did that.
Butt boarding.
He's duct taped.
Yeah.
He had to.
I mean, that was there. I mean, when I first got a skateboard, that's what I did. I just sat on the board and rolled down a hill, and
Yeah, no, I never got that far.
eventually you decide to stand up.
No, no, that didn't
No,
happen.
you never stood on the board.
Nope.
All right. Well, I'm gonna bring a skateboard over next week. We're gonna have
Okay.
a ollie in your living room.
I'll do it on the carpet.
Yeah, on the carpet. Yeah, makes it easier because it won't roll away.
All right, X-Arm. Did you watch X-Arm?
No, what is that?
Well, I watched X-Arm, and I was expecting it to be bad because the animation looked really bad in the trailer, and it was really bad. But here's the thing.
So we're looking at my anime list, and this is the lowest rating I've ever seen.
And it's fair. It's a fair rating. But hear me out. Hear me out. I'm going to continue watching this show.
Oh, God.
It was bad, but it was funny. It was laughably bad. And it was never painful. And I'm curious where it goes. I can't say it's a good show. I can't even recommend it, but I enjoyed watching it. What was that other show?
You sound like you're reading a high school essay.
Back Arrow. Back Arrow was
Back Arrow.
I watched.
It's better than this.
For the listeners, I watched 12 shows, including Vlad Love, which we're not going to talk about till next month because that's when the second episode comes out. So tune in for that.
Well, I watched 24, including Vlad Love, because you told me not to count it.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, so there you go. Tony watched 24. I watched 12. He always has to double up me, it seems. And that's fine. I'm cool with that. But I watched 12 episodes.
I win!
12 new anime this season. Back Arrow was the hardest to get through. But compare that to... Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
This looks way worse.
I mean, it is bad.
I mean,
but it's so
it.
bad. Dude, it's so... And this is
Other
why...
than the poster.
This is why I wanted to see it, though. Because it's so bad. It's like watching a train wreck. It's like... So Crunchyroll is has co-production.
This is on Crunchyroll.
On this, yeah. And for some reason, they were like all good with this to come out. I mean...
I don't know. I skipped it. I usually watch almost everything on Crunchyroll.
So you might have to check it out. We can talk more about it next week. But
no, I'd rather not. Like it.
I didn't write many notes. I just wrote one sentence, and I'll read it.
The poster, like by itself, annoys me.
It's really bad.
For so many reasons.
It's really bad, but I want to. Okay,
continue.
I feel bad mocking it, but I also want to see where it goes. An ambitious failure. Those are my notes.
You sound like you're reading an essay in high school.
Okay.
You want to mock it, but you want to see.
I feel bad mocking it.
But you feel bad mocking.
But I also want to see where it goes. So it's so bad that like I feel.
All right, what's it about?
It's about.
Don't sell me against it. Sell me on it. Make me want to watch it.
Okay.
I watch everything, so it's really not a hard sell.
I know, right? It's about a teenager. Like we see a little bit of him in the beginning, but then like there's this huge time skip, and like it's unclear what happened. I mean, they kind of reveal it after the time skip a little bit, like they hint at it. But after the time skip, it's like 20, 30, whatever, and his brain has been put into this.
What is it when we start? We don't know.
It's probably like modern time or something like that, or I forget.
So 2020.
There's a couple skips. It's a little disorienting in the beginning. Honestly, it's bizarre. This animation that's in it, like it's just things are off model and like not consistent. It just rotate around inexplicably, but it's hilarious.
Who is it? Visual Flight. I don't know that.
Yeah, I think it's like their first thing. Yeah.
Right.
So
well, fair enough. Give them
and that's kind of why I feel bad mocking it. Like that's why I
they
said
tried
that.
Real hard.
Yeah, and they're just on a real strict deadline, I'm assuming.
Well, and COVID-19, I mean.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the story's kind of interesting. Like they do this huge time skip, and his brain is now in this like ultimate weapon that when we meet him, when he's like booted up, these two like girls are trying to like infiltrate this rogue like criminal operation and steal back this like weapon they have, which is him. But they boot him up because they're like get stuck and they can't get out, and the enemy ship is taking off and like they're like stuck on it. And so they boot him up, trying to be like, all right, help us get out of the situation. And he doesn't.
You're a weapon. Be a weapon.
Yeah, and it sort of has like, I wouldn't call it isekai, but he has the whole thing where he's like doesn't know what's going on and like what happened, like where am I? What year is it? And they have to go through all that, and they're like, dude, help us fight, and he's like, I can't fight.
So he's a stranger in a strange land, but you wouldn't call it isekai.
Well, just in the sense that like, I don't know, man. Maybe it is isekai. This show is very unique.
No, I'm saying it's your definition of isekai.
Yeah, I know.
That's what
He
I'm
is a
asking.
stranger in a strange land. You're right. So I guess technically it has like an isekai element.
In your definition of isekai.
Yes, yeah. Well, some shows are more isekai than others. Let's say that.
All right, sure. Sorry, continue.
It sort of has an isekai element, but don't hold that against it. It has many other things you can hold it against. But yeah, that's the basic premise, and they like the rest of that episode is him like they're trying to like fight off this villain, and it's him like trying to they leave him like in the air vent. It's him like trying to like figure out what the hell to do, and he eventually like and is able to take over this. One of the girls is a AI like robot essentially. He's able to take over her and start fighting.
Oh, okay.
And
So he is like in some ways like super OP, like in isekai would be.
yeah, I guess so. But he's like figuring it out as he goes, and it like honestly,
But he kicks everyone's ass and he wins the battle because he is the ultimate weapon.
that's true. It wasn't that easy in the anime. It's because in the beginning, when he first takes over her body, he's all disoriented and like his balance is off, and like he's getting his ass kicked, and so it's like it's not like
But he figures it out. Mid-battle.
yeah, which is kind of more of like a shonen trope, I guess. But like, but yeah,
Yeah,
essentially.
I guess that's true.
But that was mostly the first episode. There was probably I watched that a couple days ago, and I've watched a lot since. So I don't really remember how it ended. But yeah, that's X-Arm.
All right. Hey, it's your first entry that I didn't watch.
There you go.
Good job.
There you go.
Was it on your list?
Yeah.
Oh.
I put on my list. I had it. I put in parentheses "bad" next to it.
I do remember seeing what this said bad next to it. I didn't
And-
remember the title, so.
And since we've been talking about expectations and what lives up, like it totally lived up. Like it was entertainingly bad.
I don't believe that, but okay.
Hey man, to each his own. But yeah.
It's sub 3 on. Yeah.
But it's still got 24,000 people like interested in it.
Yeah, 24,000 people that gave it less than 3. Well, some must have given it more than, but.
Hey, I prefer that than
So,
a 5.
You're not familiar
middle
with the
group.
rating system on Anime List, my Anime List.
Is it out of 10?
It is out of 10,
Yeah.
and 8 is average.
Okay. Wow.
8 is actually the average.
But see to me on rating systems of 10 in general, I'm more interested in not that it's I'm more interested in a 2 than I am a 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fair
Way
enough.
way more interested. And this really
it's watching a
scratches.
train wreck. It's like you
Yeah.
want to see why is it so bad? How could it possibly be that bad?
Yeah.
There's no way it could be that bad. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna like it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I get that.
and now I want to see where I'm on this train wreck, and I want to see where how much more it's gonna wreck.
I will consider watching it. I don't think I'm going to though.
I'm not trying to sell you on it, but if you
No.
do, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'll let you. This can be one.
Yeah, you let me know.
I'll
if
let
it,
you know.
You let me know if it gets better. And maybe I'll try it.
Yeah, because you're gonna keep me abreast of some other anime this season. So several more, but maybe I can get a couple that I can.
Maybe. I
Skate might be one I might be reporting to you on, but we'll see.
Maybe at some point. I'll watch another episode. Of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
Skinfinity, you mean, right?
Skinfinity, yes.
I'll watch another episode. I'll see where it goes. I'm not against it. I have issues with it, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is bad. X-Arm.
I believe that. on what little I know of it, I believe you. It looks bad in every way. All right, moving on down the list. I don't know what the English title of this is. It's the second season of something that I haven't watched the first season of.
Ditto.
Shall we look at the English title so that we can tell people what we aren't watching? This is Shin Chuka Ichiban is apparently also the English title. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about the first season. It looks like it hasn't actually even been released yet. Because the score is NA. Anytime the score says NA, it means it hasn't been released.
Oh,
Although
okay.
it says that it's supposed to have been released on January 11th. Nihon Ad Systems Production. Okay. So this is...
I mean, it doesn't even matter. We can't even talk about it.
Yeah. I think this might be one of those sort of ad animes.
So next we got
Like an ad for, I don't know.
Baby Isekai,
Oh, Baby Isekai.
also known as Jobless Reincarnation, also known as
The Baby Isekai.
Oh.
Mushoku Tensei.
There you go.
Isekai.
And it literally says
Oh,
Isekai in the
yes.
title.
Yeah. I mean, Isekai. It is an Isekai.
It's not, embarrassed about that.
It definitely sort of embraces that idea. Yeah, where do you want to start with this one?
Can I read my first sentence? Because I think this is a good place to
All
start.
right, go for it.
Perverted shut-in dies in car crash and is reincarnated as horny baby in magical world.
There you go. That sums it up. I mean, is it a car crash? He's not in the car. He's hit by a car.
Yeah.
Sure.
Car wreck, I guess. Car accidents.
Car accident.
All right, of course. We need like a sound when the Tonyism happens. I've been Tonyed.
I mean, the sound is stop being wrong.
Stop being slightly wrong in a way that
Stop being
is
wrong in any way.
not offensive. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at my notes here. I'm like, just wondering, is he gonna have a character arc, or is it just a self-insert fantasy? Like, that's what I want to know, because it kind of seems like they're going like he keeps he keeps thinking of his past life, but then he has this new life, and it seems like he's kind of like torn between the two. And it'd be really cool if he had like an arc of like, wow, I'm actually gonna take this life seriously, or I don't know, do something important with it, instead of he just seems to be. Like he said at one point, like when he first starts talking, and he gets a magical tutor. I feel like we don't have to set this up because it's an isekai, right? But he gets a magical tutor, and he talks to her, and he has a thought where he's like, "Wow, I haven't had a conversation in like 10 years." But he's only like a little kid, so I'm like, so you were clearly a real shut-in who like wasn't talking to anyone, not even like grocery store clerks or anything. Hikikomori type. But
Can they show us some scenes of that shut-in life that he had, just very briefly, I guess. But,
yeah. Flashes of it or something.
Yeah, he has some memories of that previous life. I don't know. So, first off, like I've been calling this the baby isekai.
Fitting.
Prior to having seen it. But by the end of this episode, he's like 10, 12? I don't even know.
I don't think he's that. He seems younger. He seems like 6 to 8 or something like that.
Oh, maybe. He was definitely, well, let's see, he was like 5 and then he was 6. Yeah, you're right. 7 or 8 maybe. Yeah. Anyway, so he's not a baby for very long.
Yeah, but he is a horny baby.
He is a horny baby at first, yes. It's definitely got those HE elements to it that kind of make me squeamish and uncomfortable with even watching it, and
I feel
there
similarly.
wasn't quite enough of it to make me not want to watch a second episode, but it was really close.
I agree. The framing of it made I felt squeamish around. I wish they would just leave that alone. I'd be fine with this. I didn't like it, but the framing of it to me wasn't that creepy. Like, it wasn't done. Like, I felt it was kind of lighthearted because he was like a baby.
Because he was a baby.
So like, only time will tell. Only time will tell once he gets older, what's gonna happen here. But
well, I mean, it seems like even in this episode, it seems like he's sort of turning a corner, and breaking away from that neat lifestyle that he had before. But I was gonna say, maybe it seems okay because he's a baby, but it's his adult, voice that's saying these things.
Yeah. But it
makes it not okay.
It was. I agree with you. I mean, there were some of the things he said that were funny. I thought, because of given they were funny given the circumstance of the show,
Because
but
he
they were
didn't get it with them
creepy
because
given
of
the history of anime in general, but also of isekai and like boob shows and these kinds of
Yeah.
things that are creepy and
It
gross.
definitely felt like a boob show.
So it's like I don't know if
Wow.
I'm being hoodwinked or if this is gonna like be
Yeah.
like a commentary on that and
Yeah.
actually do something with
And
it.
the second episode will tell whether
Yeah.
whether he has turned the corner, which it seems like maybe that's what they're leading
Mm-hmm.
to, but it could very much be not at all. He just continues to be a horny
Yeah.
7-year-old.
I will say too, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like if the shoe drops that it's just a creepy like gross show, then yeah, I'm out. Obviously, I think we both are.
I was disappointed. So his magic tutor,
Mm.
like she was probably the best part of this episode to me. Like,
Yeah,
she was,
yeah. Well, I was gonna say one thing for me that the show has going for it is it looks real nice. Like it looks pretty good. Like it's got a pretty decent production value to it. Like
nothing outstanding about it. Like it's
I mean, it's not like gorgeous, but
it's
like
not bad. It's
it
not
looks.
bad animation. It's
Yeah, there's definitely certain scenes like that I don't know that I thought looked pretty, but
such
I don't know, certain backgrounds and
Such
things. I can't remember specifically,
oh, okay.
but I wrote it down, so it was enough to.
You wrote down backgrounds, but not which ones.
No, I said show looks pretty good.
Oh,
I just commented on like like it wasn't like there's some other shows in here I wrote down like lush animation like very
there are
gorgeous.
some that are like really like beautiful eye candy
Yeah.
sort of stuff, and there are some that are live motion capture.
It's not the prettiest show of the season, but it looks pretty dang good. Like, just if in the least relative to everything else I watched.
All right.
But not the best. But yeah, I mean,
I would classify the animation and the art style as not bad.
okay,
But
yeah, it's certainly not stellar, but it stood out to me just a little bit.
okay. What else we got to say about this one?
I think that's it.
That's it. No.
I gave it my my score of C+/B-. I was undecided. I was teetering.
I know for a fact without actually having to look at my phone that I gave this one a 5 because if it was a 4 I would have dropped it, and it just barely squeaked by like it's the lowest 5.
Nice.
For most of the episode I was pretty sure I wasn't going to watch another episode, but the magic tutor's character and their interactions and stuff like that, and the fact that it sort of eased up on the HE stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
it gave me hope of that it would.
Yeah, I'll
something
give it
different.
another episode, and the next episode really will tell. Like if it just delves back into the HE stuff, then I'm just gonna drop it. I probably won't even finish the second episode. But it could be. I don't even know if it could be good, but it could be not bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever going to make a 7. Like I don't see any way that this progression of the season could lead to it being a 7 out of 10. But
I can see it.
it could make itself into a 6. Like it's a very low 5. Like it's really it's a 4.98 rounded
We're
up.
on the same page, I think. Like in the least of like it's kind of a wild card at this point. Like
Yeah.
we're still in, but we'll see what happens, buddy.
I mean, if it really turns itself around and just turns out to be a good show, I would be very impressed.
Well, even in this synopsis they have on my anime list at the end, it says he vows to lead a fulfilling life and not repeat his past mistakes. So
right,
it's
which
like
is sort of the stuff that we're led into.
yeah,
Sort of
yeah. That
two-thirds,
doesn't
three-quarters
fully
of the way
happen.
through the episode, but him sort of breaking out of his shell of not leaving the house and stuff like that. Like he's sort of forced into that as this reincarnated child.
Yeah, he's like, we have to go outside.
Yeah, and so he sort of starts breaking out of the forms of the past that he is used to. Yeah, I guess gives hope for something better. in the future. We'll see.
Like, do something different is that's all
We'll
I'm
have
asking.
to see.
That's
Yeah,
all I'm asking.
they I think they earned the second episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I think they did enough to earn it.
I agree. All right, moving on.
Yamishibai, which apparently Crunchyroll has added an English title to this recently that it didn't used to have, but this is the 8th season of Yamishibai, which I think something theater. I don't know.
Yeah,
Theater?
I could tell it was some sort
I
of
don't remember.
anthology kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I
Did,
hadn't-
did you watch it?
no, I did not.
Yeah, see, yeah, Japanese Ghost Stories is what it used to be, but I don't remember what it's called on Crunchyroll now. But they've added some English name to it that I don't remember.
I skipped it.
But I have watched every episode of Yamishibai starting from the first season.
And
all
you're
the way
caught up?
through this. Yep. I
Okay,
watched
wow.
the first episode of season 8, and it is. If you've watched Yamishibai, you know what it's about, and you're probably into it if you've watched it this far. As I am, it's Japanese ghost stories, as the title on my anime list suggests.
They're like condensed stories. Like they're like one episode is a full like.
Yeah, each episode is its own story, so it is like an anthology series, basically. In the beginning of every episode, they've got this character who you see at the beginning of every episode. He's not actually part of the episodes or anything, but he's it's like the operator of like a sort of puppet box sort of thing, which my understanding is a thing in Japan. They used to have these guys that would set up these little sort of puppet shows and stuff and use sort of paper cutout puppets and enact shows. And this is like a horror version of that thing.
Okay.
So it's like a horror puppet show, but
is it traditionally animated?
it is not.
Okay.
It is. It's more of a motion comic animation. I was actually this first episode here had more actual like animation than I remember them having in prior seasons ever. But yeah, it's more of a motion comic where all of the characters are drawn as single plates and then sort of moved on a background, but then they have different forms of them, like if they're yelling or things like that. I don't know how to describe that any better than that, but motion comic, it probably encompasses it pretty well.
Do you consider it anime?
That's a good question. It is animated, but it's more akin to like stop motion animation. Not that it's anywhere sort of the same thing, but like as stop motion is related to like animation, classic animation as we know it, and anime in that regard, this is sort of related to the same degree but in a different direction. It's not puppets, which is live action. It is animated. It is in fact animated. It's just very low frame rate animation, I guess is what you would say, except it's not, because it's just it's full motion with the animation. It's just that the thing that's moving is a single frame of that character or item.
Yeah.
I've talked way too much about this now.
All right, that's Yamishibai.
Yamishibai.
I'll have to check that out at some point. I don't currently have time for it, but I will put a pin in it.
It's great. Start at the beginning. It's short. I don't actually know what the episodes run. I think actually the first few seasons it was full episodes, but this is short, 8-minute. I think.
Okay, shorter ones.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to another one that you have seen and I have not, at least this season. Non Biori, non-stop.
Never heard of it.
What is the non-stop? Is it?
That's just the name of the season, because it was Non Biori. Non Biori Repeat was the second season, and Non Biori Nonstop is the third.
Is it? I guess Repeat is the one I saw a couple episodes from.
I don't remember. Like, I know that was the one that was like the current season when we were watching it.
Did
And
we
I don't-
start from the beginning or
I
not?
don't remember if we went back and watched season 1 or not. I think we
Yeah.
probably just started with repeat because we thought, well, it's a slice of life. So do you really need to watch it from the beginning? Probably not.
Yeah, which is
And then we watched it, and it turns out, nope, you don't. You don't need to watch it from the beginning.
so
This is another of those. What do you call it?
healing show.
Healing.
And well, and I haven't seen Laid Back Camp or Yudu Camp, but I have seen Nanan Biori, and it is very healing. I think it is kind of therapeutic. It's a very peaceful show that
It's
is
very comfy and just
Mhm. like Lucky Star is slice of life, but I wouldn't consider it a healing show. It's more of a comedy.
right. So I was thinking about this a little bit. There's the sort of subgenre of slice of life that is known as cute girls doing cute things, moe. Sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
And this, I guess, fits that bill, but it's different than like Lucky Star, which is literally just cute.
And that's
girls
what I'm
doing
saying.
cute
It's a
things,
healing
right?
show.
It's calm. It's serene. It's relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really happens to get excited about.
Yeah. It's just daily mundane life, but it happens to be gorgeous.
Yeah, and gorgeous animation as well.
Yeah.
And,
When they live
yeah.
like, there's trees everywhere and
yeah,
water.
they live in a sort of rural area where, and so starting at the very beginning in Nanan Biori, they live in a sort of small rural Japanese town, and these girls, I actually forget how many there are of them, but this handful of girls.
Yeah.
There may be more than a handful, but less than 2 for sure. They all attend the same school, which is a sort of local schoolhouse because they live so far from everywhere that there's no main school they can go to.
And there's still not a lot of kids.
And they're
in
all
the
sort of
school.
different ages. So you've got everyone from like the youngest, maybe 3rd grader, up to probably a young high schooler, first year of high school or something like that. And all 7-ish of these girls, and they're all girls. There is actually a boy or 2, but they all go to the same school and learn at their own levels and sort of at their own pace. It's it's and like things happen, but
That's kind of part of the
any consequence.
That's kind of part of the charm, I think, where you have this small school with all these, not a lot of students, but like you said, all different ages, different, learning levels, and different learning styles. But like it kind of just adds to the fact that nothing really matters. Like it's all very, non-consequential and very, very soothing in that way. I do like the show a lot. I didn't watch it because I'm not caught up, but like you said, you don't need to be caught up, so maybe I should.
Yeah.
It was on like my
You
secondary
have to.
list, but I just had.
I can tell you, I watched the first episode of this season, and there is nothing in this episode that would require you to know anything about any prior episode. There are maybe some character relationships that your understanding of would be enhanced by watching, prior episodes, but it's fairly obvious that those characters have some sort of pre-existing relationship, just within the episode itself.
And
But, there's you would know more about the relationship if you'd watch previous episodes. But.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I would like to watch more of it.
I would like to watch more of it too. Why can't I watch more of it right now? Why have I had
Do you not
to wait?
do you not rewatch
How long
it?
has it been? Has it been like
It's been a while.
4 or 5 years since the last one came out, I
Which-
think. Well, there was the movie, which gave me, sort of
A little
a
bit.
momentary.
Which is kind of funny though, because for anyone listening, Tony and I years ago watched tried to watch everything that came out in a certain season,
every single
and
thing.
the second season of this was one of them. But
Yeah.
that was like back in 2015, 2016 maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's like 5 or 6 years ago at this point. And so that's kind of interesting, kind of kismet that we're back again doing this. We haven't done it since together. And Nanan Biori is back.
Yeah, that's true.
And so maybe for that reason I should I should watch it. Start from the beginning, maybe. But that, well, it's so soothing and relaxing. I mean, I've seen it, and I completely agree with your take on it, and I enjoy it a lot. Um, but I guess by that token, there's not a lot of urgency to like catch up on it. But do you not
Right.
rewatch it if you want more? Like it's still there. Like it's
I
still
don't-
healing. Like it's not like you
I really don't rewatch
things.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
But
general.
it seems like something like this, if you really just wanted to be soothed, you could rewatch because
I
it's
mean, maybe I
gonna
don't
give
know.
you the same thing no matter what.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I prefer to find the new thing. Like there's,
Mm.
I mean it. There's a lot of misses, when you're looking for something like
Mm.
this or Eurocamp or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, like Eurocamp was only a couple of years ago, so I had that.
Yeah.
And then like before that, I had Flying Witch, which was amazing.
Nice.
And Uma Musume, which is back again this season. It's a little bit more sports anime, but at the same time is pretty slice of life and has a lot of those same characteristics.
Nanon
So
Biori
there's-
seems special to me. I haven't seen all these other shows you mentioned, but I don't know. It just seems
It's-
particularly lush and serene. But
You should watch. I mean, honestly, Flying Witch is like
Flying Witch. I remember you recommended that to me back in the day, and I never watched it. I watched Maria the
it's just
Virgin
like,
Witch.
It's sort of the. You watch which?
Maria the Virgin Witch? Is that the name of
I
it?
don't
Or
know.
Mary the Virgin Witch? Something like that.
I don't know.
It came out around the same time.
But yeah, the Flying Witch is sort of the same thing. Like nothing happens. It's just some happenstance occurrences and how the characters react to them and builds depth of character. I guess that's another reason to watch more than just this season is because the more you watch, the more depth every character has.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to watch them. You could watch this one and then watch the second one and then watch the first one. It doesn't matter because they're all going to build that same depth of character the more you see of them.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for another hour, but we should probably move on.
All right. Yes. This is getting late. Let's. All right. Slime.
Slime. That's it. Well, we mentioned this before. I plan to watch this. It is on my watch list, but I need to finish the first season first. And to be honest, I'm not real gung ho about finishing it. I watched the first arc and a couple of episodes into the second arc or the second half of the first season. I just wasn't feeling it, and I don't know if I ever will. But if I ever do, I will probably watch the second season as well.
And then we can talk about it.
But
I would. I might check it out at some point.
I liked it a lot when I first watched it. I think I mentioned it when we were talking about the spider one before. I definitely did actually.
Yes.
That
Kind
whole
of already
sort
covered
of
it.
video game aspect of building your character and increasing levels and stuff like that was interesting. It definitely goes from being like no power to overpowered pretty quickly, but it's enjoyable. And I imagine the second season probably continues that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is pretty popular.
I'd like to be able to say more about it, but I
Like
really
it's-
have to get through the second half of the first season.
It's got
Which,
230,000
Yeah.
people on it, which is rivaling Promise Neverland. So that's pretty-
it's in the top 5, I think. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Slime.
And then we've got Azure Lane. It's another season of that. I'm not watching that because I haven't watched the previous seasons.
Me neither.
And then we've got Wait, what's it say? Kaifuku Jutsushi no Yori Naoshi.
Also, do not know what this is.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah. It says it's an HE fantasy.
Ooh.
That's enough to. Yeah, that's enough for me to not watch.
Yeah, I'm over that.
All right, then we're gonna skip over Wonder Egg Priority because I haven't watched it.
No, I have notes, and I will try not to spoil anything.
All right, I think at this point we are pretty much caught up with the date of the recording, meaning that anything left on this list that I'm looking at has not yet come out. But Wonder Egg Priority, George watched today. I was at work, so I wasn't able to watch it. But I will probably go home and watch it after we're done here.
Yes. Yes, you will have to watch it. I really liked it. This is what I gave an A which would be.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll just lead. I'll
I
just.
mean, I
lead
haven't
with
seen
that.
it, so I can't argue it.
Yeah, which is pretty great for me. No, I really liked it. I don't want to give too much away. It deals with themes of. I kind of I don't know. You'll have to tell me. Because I haven't seen a lot of Bakemonogatari. I've seen a few episodes of the first season of that, honestly, and I've seen the trilogy of movies that acts as a prequel to that
You saw
first
the
season.
whole. I think you saw the whole first arc, the crab.
Yeah, the first arc. Yeah,
Yes.
which is only like
And
three
then-
or
and
four
then we watched
episodes,
all
right?
three Kizumono.
Yeah, the Kizumonogatari.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this show kind of reminded me of Bakemonogatari in sort of in the pacing of it. Like it kind of it doesn't hold your hand.
Who is it? Cloverworks. Okay. Sorry.
It doesn't hold your hand. Things move kind of quickly, but it worked for me. Like I was into it and I was able to follow it. For the most part. Sure, there's some things I missed because it was kind of quick. But it didn't like Bakemonogatari. I like because it's so weird and it gets really bogged down and there's some like talking heads are so prevalent and you get bogged down in it and it's philosophy and it really kind of sends you down these rabbit trails.
It's a lot of like I was talking to some friends about. I was talking about doing this podcast.
Okay.
And I was talking to friends about what anime have you watched recently and what are your various sort of anime related questions and we ended up talking about sort of our favorite anime and I brought up Bakemonogatari and one of my friends said it was just a lot of talking and I'm like yeah you're right it really is.
It is a lot.
That is one of the things I like about it. So.
But the talking is unique because it's not like I can think of like Gundam Wing, which I'm very fond of because I watched it growing up but watching it as an adult, like it puts me to sleep. Like there's a lot of talking, but it's a lot of like military jargon and like it's not a lot of
sci-fi.
it's not really substantive, and it kind of gets kind of like lost in that. But Bakemonogatari, from what I've seen, is kind of special and unique in the way that it's more of a philosophical thing that it's almost like a downward spiral where they're getting, I don't know, it's I get like an unreliable narrator thing going on and it's very bizarre and I like that show. It's hard to binge watch it for me, but I would like to revisit it.
It's heavy. I mean, it's
it
heavy.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's very like intellectual bordering on pseudo-intellectual sometimes, where like but you consider it's all these characters and like they're not even adults, like, and so it's I don't know. But this show kind of
I was gonna say, is this also heavy? Or I sort of got in what I've seen in like the PV and the description and stuff, more like a Fooly Cooly vibe, but that seems like sort of the spectrum. You've got Bakemonogatari on one side and Fooly Cooly on the other, which is there's heavy and then Fooly Cooly's light-ish, I guess. I wouldn't say it's super light, but it's light-ish, and I feel like this falls within that spectrum somewhere.
The tone of Fooly Cooly has like some sort of mania to it, and this show doesn't really have that.
Okay.
But I don't know what else to compare it to because. Like the only thing it shares with Bakemonogatari, I think, is sort of the quick narrative style, but a lot more happens. That's not just like talking heads. Which Bakemonogatari isn't just that, but it's the vast majority of it.
There's a lot, yeah. There's a lot of it.
So there's definitely like action and things happening in Wonder Egg Priority, and things are progressing, but there's these really heavy. There's like a heavy thematic thing going on, which it doesn't necessarily hit like emotionally hard during this episode, but I have so much. This show to me has so much potential by this first episode.
So it's towards the heavier side, but not quite as slow paced as Bakemono, but not quite as fast paced as you didn't compare it to Fooly Cooly, but it's not as fast paced as that, I guess.
No, like Fooly Cooly has a lot of it's fast paced with a lot of like high movement and motion. Like I feel like and I love Fooly Cooly, but it's sort of like a jarring experience watching it. I think in certain parts, like there's certain parts where it slows down and kind of like and it contrasts that other side of it. But especially when you first started, it's just like there's a lot happening. And this like there's you kind of sit in these scenes, but then they're kind of going rapidly. Like things are just like it doesn't. I don't know. Like I wrote down in here like it doesn't hold your hand, and that it really is kind of what it's like. Where it's not
Sort of
like
moves.
explicitly telling you what's happening, but like you gotta just kind of follow it, and you're along for the ride.
So a certain amount of sort of being lost and figuring it out for yourself as you go.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, certain things are revealed as you go, but it's like one of those things where you're thinking about it while you're learning more, and then you kind of already have some ideas, and then you learn more and kind of establish I don't know, kind of check yourself on what you thought was happening. But I'm curious once you watch it to see how you think. It deals. I don't want to give anything away, but like I don't know what to say about it. Or what else to say about it? I was gonna say something, but I was like, I stopped myself. I wrote down here. It deals with themes of grief and loss. Suicide is is definitely represented. And I don't know. Like I think it's doing something interesting that I have a lot of hope for. It paying off in big ways, and this show I thought what was that other show we were just talking about? The baby isekai.
Oh,
I thought looked
okay.
pretty good, for this season. This show, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the art style. I assume.
Yeah, it's oh my god, it's so good. And this is actually the second show. We didn't actually mention this in the other one, but this is the second show this season that has a main protagonist who has heterochromia, differently colored eyes.
What's the other one?
It's Other Side Picnic. Sorao has that as well. Oh,
I
really?
don't remember that.
They don't in Wonder Egg Priority. It's more of a focus. I don't think they, doesn't draw much attention to it. But I noticed it watching that.
Huh.
I just thought that was funny. Heterochromia is really in right now.
I mean, it's definitely been done in anime a lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, no, this one, like you were saying, you gave it the highest score of anything you've watched, and I can understand that. It is certainly the one that I would assume that I would give the highest score of anything. Like there have been good shows, but nothing like outstanding thus far that I've watched, and this is probably the one that I thought would be a real standout potentially. So I guess I'm not surprised that you would give it that high of a score.
See, hopefully I don't want to.
I might give it an 8. That's about the best it can hope for on a first
A
episode.
first episode,
That would be whoa. That'd be amazing.
I didn't give it an A plus. I just gave it an A, just a straight old A.
Right. But that's
It's pretty
enough,
high.
so.
It's pretty high. No, I agree. I mean, probably because I rated it so high and you haven't seen it yet. That's I've set the bar high, and so like.
I mean, it already
might
had.
affect it a little
I had
bit,
high
but-
expectations for it to begin with. So.
But I don't, because you haven't seen it yet. I don't want to get too into it, so I'll hold. I have some other like specific things that happen in it and stuff I want to talk about, but I'll hold off till. Next week. Well, no, it's only fun if I can talk to you about it. All right. Well, that's Wonder Egg Priority. That's my most anticipated one. Do you have one that stands above the others? We haven't seen this yet, but like aside from this.
I mean, this one, because it's new, was probably my most anticipated. But I mean, I'm really happy with Eurocamp and Non Bjorn coming back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, and we haven't. We've
both of those in the same season. It's just like
that's an overload. It's
Yeah.
an overload.
It's paradise, man. It's
And
so good.
we still have to talk about our last. I mean, we're done, right? Because all this we're caught up. To,
Everything here is in the future. I think the last one we have to talk about here would be maybe Dr. Stone, which is coming up.
Yeah, but we haven't.
We haven't watched it, but what did you want to talk about then?
Well, we have one more left.
What?
Which is The Promised Neverland.
Oh, right, the one that we skipped.
Yes, I wanted to end with it.
Because you wanted to end with it.
I wanted to end with it.
Way less notes on this than you had on.
I know, and that's kind of why I wanted to wait till the end to talk about it. Because I mean, maybe there's not that much to say because I mean, I'm gonna assume if you're listening to this to Promise Neverland, you know that you've at least seen the first season. And I eventually want to do a podcast with Mike, my buddy Mike, with us to talk about the whole season. But yeah, I don't know. First, you saw this as it was coming out a couple years, 2019, season, yeah. I think.
And 18 or 19, yeah, I don't remember.
And I didn't. I heard about it. I heard it was good, and I just never saw it until like a couple weeks ago. I just watched it, and I really liked it. It was really awesome. Great characters. The tone is just they do so much with the tone where like it's so dark once you realize what's happening, and then once they're trying to hide it from Mama, and
I mean, so they reveal like what's happening in the first episode.
Yes, yeah,
but I don't think that's the darkest it gets.
No, for sure.
Like it takes that and then sort of builds on it, like in the background while all this other stuff is happening in the foreground, right? Like, yeah. Sorry, just.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far everyone doing the episode on the second season. We can go into the weeds on the first season, but before, you know, to lead up to it. But yeah, they essentially break out of this this prison that they didn't realize they were in, and we start with this second season, them outside the wall, which we brought up talking about.
So there's nothing outside the wall though.
Back Arrow.
Yeah. There's nothing outside the wall.
Nothing.
But there's all these books.
The show is like like a million times better than Back Arrow.
I'm not gonna argue with that. I'm just that sort of concept exists between the two where you know, in the first season, like outside of the wall is like unknown, completely unknown, which is the same case in Back Arrow, and that's the only sort of
that's
parallel
true.
I was trying
but
to
much better characterization. And
so what's going on inside the wall, very different.
And much more interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all. I mean, this show is really good. I think about like revealing things, like, you know, just giving you, you know, a little bit of information at a time. Like I was reminded of Westworld while watching this show, in a good way, because I think Westworld gets way too. This is a HBO show. It's not an anime, but it gets way too bogged down in like all of its things that is going on. It's like this puzzle box that couldn't actually exist in real life. You know, it's like they keep adding onto it. I mean, I'm not even caught up on that show.
But the sort of story construction that they do with the interlocking pieces that they have in Westworld versus like the first season of The Promised Neverland. Similar, I would say. I can see like the parallel.
Yeah. Better, but better execution for Promised Neverland for me. It's like it's not trying to, like, it's cleverly doing it in the sense that it's giving you what you need at kind of the right moments and not confusing you too much. You know, it's like keeping that suspense, but not like sending you down all these rabbit holes of information. Like it's just tighter, I think. I guess
that's true.
There's just too many.
At times, even the first season felt a little heavy-handed in pushing you along the plot line. You know, like, just move along over this way a little bit, you know, and I don't know.
You mean The Promised Neverland?
Which, I mean, that could be true of either show, actually. You're right.
Yeah. I was like, which one are you talking about?
I was referring to Promised Neverland.
Yes. I mean, there's certain like character feints where they're sort of leading you to believe one thing of a character or to trust a certain character, and they sort of, you know, go against expectations. But then that's what I like about it, is then you get the justification for why. Like there's a part early on where they find out there's the three main kids who are like the smartest. Two of them find